What is up? Hello and welcome to another episode of Showboys. My name is Mike and I'm joined as always by my good friend Nick. And for our monthly What's Playing episode, our good friend Chad. How's it going, guys?
Going dandy. Going great.
Nice. As our the intro music was playing there, I realized that my water bottle is not by my side. My coaster is empty and I'm very sad.
Man, we've been here before.
Yeah. I feel like it's down here somewhere.
I feel like it's like a
just don't know
50-50 shot if you bring that water bottle down with you.
Yeah. Even one time I had it down here and I drank it all before we even started. So
Right.
I was like, oh, might as well just not even have had it. But yeah. Oh, we forgot. HOBBS is here, not as usual, but as sometimes he graces us with his presence. Tonight is one of those nights. Welcome, HOBBS.
He's happy to be here. He told me himself.
Nice. But yeah, so we thought we would follow suit from last week with our what we call general What's Watching episode, where we just catch each other up on what we've been watching. We were talking and figured out that we actually haven't had one of these for What's Playing really yet. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do tonight. We're just gonna hang out, catch each other up on what we've been playing, and see where the show goes from there. It should be really fun. I always enjoy these episodes that kind of are more loose and not really like honing in on a super specific topic, because they always tend to go in fun places. So yeah, I'm excited. Have you guys been playing a lot of games lately? Chad, I know you are probably the biggest gamer of the three of us.
Yeah, I played quite a bit, actually. I did. So the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect came out.
Yeah.
And we kind of briefly touched on that one of our episodes, that I had never played those games and I really wanted to play them. So it was like the perfect opportunity to do so. So I dove in and I was like completely enamored by them. I think they're all relatively amazing games. I probably have very few negative things to say about them, but up until you get to Andromeda, which I actually revisited again at the end of the trilogy. But oh man, they're so good. They're very, I didn't realize how very Star Wars-esque they are. They're like if Star Wars took place in the Milky Way. That's how I would describe them to somebody that doesn't quite play them.
I just thought it was like a Star Wars Halo hybrid-esque, like the feel of it. Like it's just very like compact, like Halo, if that makes sense in my mind.
Yeah, it's like a mixture of Halo, Star Wars. You got like some Star Trek elements in there with the Normandy and stuff. So
right.
I don't know, man. I made the deal that I was going to at least play through the trilogy from beginning to end. And I think that it has something really unique that doesn't ever get done in games, not to my knowledge that I can really even think of, which is how your decisions transfer from game to game. So if you make a decision to kill somebody or save somebody in one, that person's either dead or alive in two, and various different stuff like that. And it's like such a gaming thing, but it doesn't seem to happen very often, which is odd.
In the remastered, I mean, is that pretty seamless how they do that? Is it all like one packaged game and you can basically just move through them?
Yeah, so it's very seamless. I mean, I think the Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, when they came out on the PS3, they had like a graphic novel animated movie type of deal, which let you make the decisions quickly. So those are still there if you want to watch them. If there's like been a gap between the games, you want to catch up on stories and stuff. But you can literally just make all the decisions in one, go to two, and it picks right up where you were. And you really don't have to do anything. So
yeah, there is an option.
Found it, boys. Found
it. If you didn't play like a previous one or didn't have like a save file for it, you could just like pick a general pack of decisions or something to that effect.
Yeah.
But it was always good to have the previous pickup there, because that was just such a cool element.
Yeah, I just thought it was really cool that like after I got done and finished 3, and I remembered there was like some controversy with 3, so I went back and watched some videos, and I saw like characters in 3 that were like, this player's like a right-hand man, and he died in 1 for me, and I never even used him in my party at all. And I just think it's a cool way to craft your own story, and it's kind of what gaming's all about. And it doesn't seem to happen at all outside of Mass Effect, unless you guys can name one, because I can't off the top of my head name any games that let you do that.
The only game that does something remotely close to that comes to mind for me is probably one that you might not think really, but the old like NCAA football games where you could import your draft class.
Oh yeah,
into Madden.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I can't think of anything that has that like
you would
permanent.
think it would definitely be. Sorry.
No, I was kind of, my thought was kind of done there. Permanent like transfer of game stuff.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think there was like a little bit of lag there.
Yeah,
it's weird that first it's such a strong storytelling element that it's just really kind of done in Mass Effect, and then like sports games, right? It's carrying over like that kind of stuff. And sports games aren't necessarily a storytelling element, I guess, in a very obscure way you could make that argument, but
yeah, they've definitely gotten like, okay, so I haven't like really played a sports game since high school, probably like really played one. Like I used to be really into Madden a lot, like middle school and high school. But the little bit that I have played off and on through the years, they are becoming like very RPG-esque, and like to the point where you can basically create your character and start out in like high school or college, and then like play through college until you get drafted, and then like you get drafted and you have to like work your way onto the roster and until you're starting and all this stuff like that. So it's basically become like, yeah, RPGs for jocks, which is hilarious.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
Because you get like as you're playing with your, if you do like, they're usually like career mode or whatever. After you play some games or after you get finished with a game, you like earn different attribute points that you can put into like speed or catch or throw or strength or whatever to improve your, so it literally is like an RPG just for jocks, and it's hilarious because they like really get into it.
Yeah.
But then they're like make fun of people like us who play like World of Warcraft or whatever. Like, oh, you nerds, get a life.
Yeah.
Not much anymore. I don't know if that's a thing, but definitely I enjoyed the evolution of just the mainstreamness of gaming. Like obviously it's always been big, but now there's a game for every single niche. All the way to your 90-year-old grandma's playing Candy Crush or Farmville, whatever it is. So definitely, and then especially when they started adding the RPG elements into everything, to where like, oh yeah, we've done that for 20 plus more years.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I mean to interrupt you. I was going to say I don't mean to interrupt you, but I totally do because I'm interrupting you. But before we started, I was watching a trailer for a movie called Werewolves Within, which it looks to look like it's going to be kind of funny. I text Cody. If you're a new listener to the show, Cody was one of the original co-hosts, and he does a lot of behind the scenes stuff for us here at the show. But I text him because he's a horror guy. It's like a horror comedy, and anytime I come across a trailer that looks mildly interesting, I always text Cody. I'm like, hey, you need to watch this. Text him that, and then he just replied with a picture of a chicken. See if you can see that. Okay, you're probably not going to be able to because of glare. But he just texts me a picture of a whole chicken and says, I'll check it out in a minute. Finishing my smoked chicken. So, yeah, he recently got a smoker and has taken a liking to it, apparently.
Yeah.
But we're just like, okay, just getting pictures of chickens. All right. Then we got a comment here from Jordan, our good friend, another contributor to the show, boys. I can't speak. RPG football games, defensive line or warriors, paladins, and a half elf Woodland Ranger as quarterback.
Yeah,
I dig it.
Pretty good.
I dig it.
I get behind that. Yeah, man. Madden's getting very RPG like for sure. But yeah, now that I totally derailed what you guys were talking about,
Yeah,
continue.
it's all good. Yeah, I think it is funny that, and I can't remember what year it is, but to go to what Nick was saying, how games have become so big. I think it was maybe 2019 or 2018. They made more money than movies, TV shows, and music combined. I think.
Mhm.
I think that report kind of came out early 2020. So I think 2019 would
COVID
be
deal.
the year.
Yeah. So it's always funny to see people that are think they're anti-game and they're like, oh, I don't have time to play video games, and then they sit down and play Candy Crush or Angry Birds, and I want to be like, but that's a
still a game.
Like, they almost don't see it as a video game. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But,
well, in their defense, I don't see those as video games either because I'm
totally
hardcore
those are not
anti-mobile
games.
gaming. But
right.
Technically, if you want to get technical, it is. But yeah, I feel the same way too, kind of about esports. Like anyone who knows me knows I'm very passionate about esports. But like a similar stat, Chad, most years the League of Legends like World Championship tournament has like the finals for the World Championship has more viewers than the World Series, Stanley Cup, and NBA Finals combined.
Yeah,
which
right.
is ridiculous because
bananas.
That's two. I mean, hockey, I guess, would be considered, a major sport, but the lesser of, the more major sports of NFL, NBA, and MLB. But the fact that Pro League of Legends can, have those types of numbers to beat out the NBA and the MLB. And the NHL combined is pretty ridiculous, but it just goes to show how much gaming has infiltrated just like everyday culture here, even coming down to just watching, let alone playing.
Yeah,
it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, so I finished up the Mass Effect trilogy. I kind of hinted on it earlier. Whatever, maybe Nick, you can fill me in on. I don't know what people were upset about by 3. Where I don't know if you played it when it came out and you were around for whatever was so damaging to the reputation of the game. I didn't see it when I played it, so I don't know if it was taken out or what. But
did it have something to do with how it ended or something?
Yeah,
that's what I think.
That mostly, I wasn't like active playing the game because the game had came out and like obviously everyone that wanted to play it played it, and that all became a thing. And I played it sometime later, but I played the previous ones. Essentially, it was mostly the, it was so anticipated. It was the third and final one. It was just everyone just had all their expectations and all that stuff. So really, that's why you did not notice it, and probably no one will notice it now because, it was an at the time kind of, the third of the trilogy. Everyone had their expectations on what it was supposed to be, what it could have been, and I think they just felt like the ending, mostly like Mike said, is where it kind of just dropped for some people, almost like it kind of goes nowhere or didn't have like a complete resolution to everything. And I think another big part of it was, and maybe this you could probably still notice a little bit, but it made a lot of the last like 2, 3 in all the games like almost seem pointless kind of thing.
I mean, I can get where that comes from, because it does seem like in 3, even though I'd be hard fought to say 3 isn't my favorite. I think it is, but in 3, the entire way everything plays out doesn't seem like it takes into account those choices you made in 1 and 2, even though it supposedly was supposed to. I think the only thing you get outside of it is, characters that are dead you can't use anymore, and that's really it. So, I mean, I don't know. I got to the end of 3 and I was like, even though I was starting to get a little bit run down because the gameplay is relatively the same between all 3 of them, especially 2 and 3, I still loved every second of it. I thought 3 was like the perfect cap to the trilogy. But I can see where your choices in 1 and 2 don't really have any major effect on the way the story plays out.
Right. And if I remember correctly too, like basically you're narrowed down at the end too, as far as was there there's two choices, but if you do some certain story elements, you have a third.
Right.
And I think that just kind of, for a game that had been so complex and like the choices and everything matters, people just felt like it didn't matter ultimately at the end. And
yeah, and I think
though.
Yeah, right. I think they might have patched in a fourth choice. I only had two choices because you have to have, like you said, you have to do get a certain amount of military resources or whatever it was called to get that third and fourth ending. But if you look, I went back and watched like the other endings I didn't get. They're all relatively the same.
Yeah.
Like it all plays out pretty much identical. Just it depends what group of people get killed, and all the mass relays get destroyed in every single one of them. And it's just, I mean, I can see where people were upset about the way that played out because they were almost identical. But I thought just 3 with finally bringing the Reapers attacking and everything, they were like this, it almost felt like a White Walker presence throughout the entire thing. Like nobody really knew if they were real.
So true.
You know what I mean? And nobody really knew if they were real. And then, they're supposed to come and decimate everybody. And then they do come and, do their thing, and it ends, I felt relatively good, but pretty quickly. But it did, I don't know, that just might be from playing it after I watched Game of Thrones. It gave me very big Game of Thrones vibes. And I know Game of Thrones came out well after it, but just it felt like Shepard was like the shepherd of the galaxy going and getting all these people, to back him to fight these Reapers. It felt very Jon Snow in the White Walker story.
I mean, I think that's a completely fair assessment. One that probably hasn't been. You might have been the first person to ever make that.
Probably,
heard it here first. But just for the nature of Game of Thrones being wrapped and Legendary Edition coming out, and you've never played it. But I mean, that's entirely true. And I mean, Game of Thrones and Mass Effect do fall victim to the same issue, and it's the fact that they had absolutely so many storylines and like decisions and things that happened, and you just cannot possibly end that in some grandiose way. I mean, the first person that does it like makes it all tie together. One, it's gonna be 20 seasons long, and everyone's gonna hate it anyways.
Yeah, true.
So do you think that they kind of like shot themselves in the foot then by making it so? Sorry, a gnat flew by and I was trying to I'm not like losing my mind. But yeah, do you think that specifically Mass Effect, because we've seen shows and movies that have millions of storylines but are still able to wrap them up in a nice way, but do you think with the choice system that Mass Effect had and like the decisions being so impactful, like kind of made it near impossible for them to really like end in a way that would be pleasing to most?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it, and that could be why you don't see it that much in games, is because people are trying to tell their own stories when they're making a game, and it especially, we talked about any open world game, it's kind of hard to tell a really impactful story in an open world game because you're making your own stories through a good portion of it. So it's always weird when you're playing like Watch Dogs, you're playing a hacker and he's like an activist and you murdered like 30 people on the way to the, you know what I mean? It always feels weird. So that could be a big part of it, is it was just hard to, it's hard to please everybody. You know what I mean? Because everybody told their story differently in Mass Effect.
And then especially like when you're so used to your choices being so impactful and changing the gameplay so much, like you said, you had a completely different crew, right? The person that was the right-hand man, died off early on your playthrough or whatever. But like a storyteller is going to have a beginning and an end in mind, hopefully, like if they're good at storytelling. So ultimately, the end is always going to be the end, but because they made that middle part so free for the player and so like fluid, I guess. I could see how as a player, by the time you get to the end, and you get like the ending of the story as the story is intended to be told, being like, what the heck? Like, why did everything else happened the way it
Right.
happened. Like, and then I get here and nothing I do really affects the end because they all pretty much are the same.
I mean that was always my defense though in for Game of Thrones and how it ended is, and the same thing goes with Mass Effect, and I would say doubly for Mass Effect because these stories build up to basically some kind of global precipice event, right? That's going to literally decide the fate of the entire world. And in Mass Effect's case, like the galaxy. So naturally, I mean, it's going to come down to a single decision, a single thing that happens that, well, I mean, people die, a bunch of storylines just get cut off and ended. I mean, that's just kind of related to reality.
Right.
Like, yeah, Game of Thrones, everyone had these storylines and people cared about them, but sometimes people just straight up die. They get smacked by a bus. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make their like life any less, like their story any less, like everything that happened less important. It's just they happened to get run over by a bus and it just ended. Like that's what happened to Game of Thrones all the time. Like that's kind of more realistic. Not everything gets this nice little bow tie, and it was like their whole story just made so much sense and it built up to this really nice clicky clack. You know, it's not, I mean, the MCU tries to do that all the time. I think they're moving away from that, but that's what people like, even though that's not realistic.
Yeah. Becca always makes fun of me about that. Like when it comes to movies or shows, like I like the realistic, like, stuff. And she's always like, you're so morbid. What's wrong with you?
Life is morbid, I guess.
Like, that's how it would happen in life sometimes. Like sometimes the happy ending doesn't play out. But
yeah, I think the people that get up, I don't know that I've ever gotten upset by an ending of something, because it's, for most things, it's the journey of getting to that ending. Especially with Game of Thrones. I think the problem with Game of Thrones, and maybe even Mass Effect had this back in the day, was the people that were making theories on what was going to happen were sometimes better than what actually happened. And I think that might have hurt that final season, but it doesn't destroy the entire show. And same with Mass Effect. I think of, and it's the same thing I say for Game of Thrones. If you watch Game of Thrones all together back to back, like binge it, it makes more sense than if you sat and watched it week to week. You see the signs, you remember the signs, you remember, I'm going to take my throne with fire and blood and all this stuff that, you know, Daenerys said she was going to do. And the same thing might have happened with Mass Effect, where I just played it back to back to back. So everything was right there and fresh in my brain. And it didn't, you know, I wasn't really developing theories because I was so engrossed in the game story as it was.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
I love the theory crafting, but it does do that. Like that happened kind of with me with WandaVision. I like to watch New Rockstars. I don't know if either of you have heard of New Rockstars on YouTube. They have a good what's his name? Eric Voss, I think, does a lot of like, you know, theoretical videos, like analysis videos and stuff of shows and whatnot. But you know, he had me on the Mephisto hype train like the entire time, and everything he said was like made so much sense. So, like, this would be so good, and then nothing happened, and I'm like, and then of course, you know, if you listen to the Falcon and Winter Soldier companion series, I threw out a wild theory about how the Mandarin was going to be the power broker, and that was going to tie into Shang-Chi. And let me tell you, it was like 3,000 times better than what no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not kidding. I did have that theory, but it probably wasn't better than what happened. But
it's the same. It's the same thing though. Other people are telling their stories within that universe, and then sometimes they end up being better than what the developers or the directors
they forget
make.
People are actually telling a story.
Right.
And Jordan, if you're still out there watching or listening, I still haven't got off the 10 Rings train. I'm sorry. I will never let that die. I will die on that hill. No, I mean, the show's over, so no, there's no hope.
No.
But anyways, I don't know. Maybe it'll be like retconned in like a DVD box set release. They'll do the Showboys cut. And the Mandarin will be there. But yes, anyways, fun fact, I've never played Mass Effect, so that was fun little conversation to listen in on.
Yeah, it's definitely it was definitely on my list for a long time, along with Dead Space and BioShock. Those are two series that I totally missed. I'm hoping I think there's a BioShock collection. I just haven't got around to it. I'm hoping that Dead Space sees the success of Mass Effect, which it was successful, and says maybe we should do this. And I think that there's a good chance of that. So I'm hoping that we get remasters of those.
Little spoiler alert. We might have a little blip of this Dead Space on the newscast coming up because I did catch an article that there might be a possible remaster coming soon for the Dead Space series. So
yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, really. I'm not sure it's EA that owns Dead Space, right? I think
so, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think
they just love money. So
yeah,
that's free money,
right? It seems always odd that some of these companies don't re-release some of these older games that would like sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. Our friend BioCiv just streamed a playthrough of the first Dead Space game a couple weeks ago, and while he was playing it and I was watching, like we kept talking back and forth, like this would be a perfect remake or a remaster. Please, I would love to play this game with like sweet graphics and
right.
But yeah.
I mean, some of them turn out.
Have you played it yet, or is that still?
I've never played any of the Dead Spaces, and it's to the point now where I'll probably just wait for that remaster if it's even in the news being rumored, because it's a good chance it's going to come out.
Yeah, I would definitely do that.
But I think that some of them turn out really bad, and I think Mass Effect. I was surprised at how well Mass Effect held up in the gameplay department and everything. Really, even graphically, I think it looked really good, even the first one. So there's some kind of outdated mechanics and stuff, but I was shocked at because they're older games and it was kind of a different time that these games came out. And they held up really, really well. But before we hop off the Mass Effect real quick, I want to talk about Andromeda, because I did get some more time with Andromeda, and I might have somewhat changed my opinion on it, not fully. So we talked about it on the show before, how I think Nick agreed with me that the game just kind of felt soulless. Like it just was they just slapped Mass Effect on a random space exploring game. But I don't know if it was just from playing the original trilogy and just wanting more stories in that universe. When I got to Andromeda, first off, the jarring thing for me was the Legendary Edition is 60 FPS and Andromeda is 30. So it was like a headache-inducing nightmare for the first hour of playing it.
Yes.
But once I got through that, and I kind of watched a video where they said like the best way to play the game, which is pretty much ignore all the side quests and just do the main quest. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And the first time I played it, I didn't even get off the first planet, like desert planet. I just was doing everything there, and then I just got burnt out. It was like, this is boring. But this time I made it probably 12 hours into it. It's aesthetically, I think it looks really good. All the armor and stuff looks really good. The gameplay changes I thought were awesome outside of the cover system. Just being able to jetpack around and zip around during combat.
So fun.
Yep, right. And then the main thing for me is my Shepherd in the Legendary Edition was just like a boots on the ground soldier with a gun. And when I got to Andromeda, I added in the like biotics. So it was like totally changed the gameplay for me. So I would like had force powers essentially, Mike. Yep. So I played 12 hours of it. I didn't quit it because I hated it. I quit it because I reviewed Returnal for downright creepy, which was a space game. Then I played the Mass Effect trilogy, which was a space game. Then I played Andromeda, which, I love getting on kicks, and I was on a huge space kick for like almost 2 months. But I just, by the time I got like to the fourth planet, I was like, kind of, okay, it's time to move on.
And come back to Earth.
Right? Yeah. But I think the soul might be there for me. I think it's very low. I don't think it even comes close to the original trilogy, but I think if it's kind of like a gap between the next Mass Effect gameplay wise, but they add in the kind of decisions and the storytelling and stuff that's seemingly missing from Andromeda, that they're going in a good direction.
You just inspired me to play Andromeda again. I forget how far I got into it, but I was definitely going after like everything in the side. And I definitely agree that is a point that probably caused a lot of frustration because that stuff was not polished.
Right.
And it was buggy. But I mean, overall, that game though, I mean, it was beautiful. I love the premise of the story. I liked a lot of the mechanics, at least like the world building mechanics. I got to travel around. Obviously, the movement, like you said, almost like the force powers. Like, yeah, I think on the rails, it's an okay game. But for everything they promised, that's really where they kind of like dropped the
Right.
ball, because one, they overpromised. Two, people expected a polished, compact Mass Effect game, which they used. They were just, you played them. They're so perfect as far as how they're constructed. Not a lot of gaps there. So Andromeda definitely is kind of like this like rattly, clanky thing. But yeah, I might go back and play that.
Yeah, it's worth, especially if you do like what I said and just stick to the main story. Maybe knock out. There's like those like giant air conditioning units you have to turn on in the planets to make them viable. Knock those out because like some of the planets, there was like a super like icy snow planet. It was absolutely beautiful, and then when you turn the air conditioning thing on, it like totally changes and starts to melt and stuff. I was like, man, this game is really good looking. It's just
great premise.
Great premise, and I'm almost curious that if it wasn't a Mass Effect game, if it would have done better.
Yeah.
Like if it was just a random, just Andromeda, and it just was a random space game about colonizing Andromeda, I think it would have been a lot better because people had their hopes up for that deep storytelling and choices and all that stuff that didn't really pan out. But it seems to be pretty smooth now when I played it outside of the frame rate, which is not really it came out on the PlayStation 4, so it's not the game's fault that it runs like that. But
right.
Yeah. They and I think they could have gotten away with like an Andromeda in the Mass Effect universe, and then, like you said, stripped away some of that expectation. Would have done better.
Yeah, I think I watched the trailer for the new Mass Effect, the like teaser that they put out, and I can't quite tell. I think it's going off the original trilogy, but they kind of show the Milky Way and Andromeda in one of the shots, so I don't know if it's going to be a sequel to Andromeda.
Dead Space.
But I kind of think that, at least my hope is that the reason the Legendary Edition came out is that they'll allow those choices you made in the Legendary Edition to transfer to the new Mass Effect, which I think would be really cool. And I think it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're releasing the games and the system's already there. Yeah. But it depends which way they want to tell the story, and there's 4 different endings and 4 different ways it ends up. So curious to what they see. I couldn't really make too much out of the trailer for it, or the teaser rather.
Nice. You brought up PlayStation 4, and 2 things popped into my head. First, I really enjoy your shirt. It's amazing. PlayStation shirt. And then while we're on that topic, I'm totally digging the background of our broadcast right now. Like Bianca,
yeah, I love it. Yeah,
Bianca crushing it again with the Showboys art. So thank you, Bianca. So nice. Love it. But then you're talking about how Andromeda, again, I've never played these games, so I'm just like basing this off of what you guys are talking about. But it sounds like Andromeda was just like a different style of game than the
it's totally different. Yeah.
And that kind of makes me think of like some of the Resident Evil games. So like I loved, Resident Evil 2 was probably my favorite. Resident Evil 4 was amazing. Then you get to Resident Evil 5 and it's more of like an action game than the survival horror. And then you get to 6 and it's straight up like an action game. But I actually liked 5 and 6. They were fun.
Right.
But you have to go into it with like, this isn't survival horror anymore. This is just an action game. And then
which is sometimes what you want out of Resident Evil is survival horror,
Yeah. But they had 4 games of that, right? So like I could see them trying to go in a different direction, and I haven't played since 6, but it sounds like 7 and Village.
Yeah,
and
7
8 is coming out or just came out. Is that?
Yeah, that's Village. 8 is Village.
Okay, 8 is Village.
Yeah,
but it sounds like 7 and 8 are returning back to like the survival horror nature of the game.
Yeah, they are. They did. 7 was kind of brought everything back to survival horror in a first-person way, but not the like Resident Evil zombie way. It was
Mhm.
it was they tell some weird. I wish they'd just stick to zombies sometimes because I think maybe that's just my nostalgia from being a kid. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to get Village. It got good reviews. It's just like werewolves and witches and stuff is not really up my alley and not really what I want out of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good analogy to make because when the difference between like the original trilogy of Mass Effect is like a military shooter slash, I mean, there's some exploring and galaxy or planet jumping, but Andromeda is like an exploration game. Like you're going to colonize a different galaxy, and that gives it a very different feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a good analogy.
Yep. Good points though. I mean, I'm sure the Resident Evil 5 and 6 would have been much more successful if they just changed the names of the characters and didn't call it Resident Evil.
Didn't call it Resident. Yeah. I mean, and I think the original Devil May Cry kind of started out like that because I think it was supposed to be a Resident Evil sequel and it was so drastically different. They were like, well, we can't put Resident Evil on that. So I have to look up to verify that, but I'm pretty positive that's how that game ended up. The very first Devil May Cry was supposed to be a sequel to Resident Evil 2 or whatever it was at the time.
So yeah, man, that's pretty sweet. Nick, what have you been playing lately?
So I was going to start off with the biggest news. I have beat Fallen Order.
Yes.
Woo!
Nice.
That's my biggest
Congratulations
accomplishment so far of the year, gaming wise. I definitely got pretty far in it, and unlike normal, they got to like this area where you have to swim out of the water. It was like the last part of like Kashyyyk, and then there's just like 2 spiders, a slug, and like it's just way too hard, so I just quit. And then I think after one of our what's playing, I was just like, because we were talking about difficulties in games and like all the different options there, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna turn that all the way down, and I'm gonna beat it. And I felt way better because it was way more fun because I felt like a Jedi. Like I had lightsabers. Like these things should just melt through everything. So I should not be like dancing with spiders. Like I should just be slaying them. And the other cool thing is obviously like a little later, actually like way too late in the game, I could tell the one thing that happens where you basically go like to 11 with your lightsaber combat. I thought that happened way too late in the game, but
I think it's been long enough that you could say what it is without fear of spoiling anything.
Yeah, you might as well.
I'm late to the party. I'm late to the party, I guess.
Yeah, that the dual wielding part of the saber play was awesome.
I think the fact that Cal there has like the most not diverse, but like I don't know. He has every lightsaber built into his. He's got the dual wield, the single, then it splits.
He's got the multi-tool of lightsabers.
I'm like, this dude's like a little engineering genius. Like, where is everybody else? Like, why didn't Mace Windu have one of these things? Like, I felt like he would have done well with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once I got past Kashyyyk there, I just started really just grinding through it and really started to pick up on the story there and started to enjoy it a little bit more. Just basically I was right at the end of the lull, like the mid arc lull there. And then once you go to Ilum and then like, I guess like basically beat it from there because it was just all downhill. So
what'd you think of the Order 66 part and like the flashback to like early young Cal and his master?
That was super cool just because anything that takes place on a Venator Star Destroyer, I'm going to love because I just love those ships in that era. But yeah, that was really cool. And like how they tied all that together, more of that Order 66 storytelling. That's basically, I think they're hinging on Order 66, like fleshing that out, just like the MCU's fleshing out the snap. That's like, someone at Disney's just like, hey, might as well like lean on that real hard because we're gonna do that with Marvel. So Star Wars, you know, lean onto that. Then I'll say like the ending was just freaking awesome.
Yes,
the Inquisitor Fortress. I think that was just so well done. And that just leans into how how Darth Vader really kind of is, and they're doing a good job kind of like retconning that power into the original trilogy, because they're walking that line. Because at first, like when Rogue One came out, they were like, how does he go from that to episode 4 right away? But over time, like it's making more sense. Like it's just, it fits well, and they're just doing a good job keeping that character without ruining 30 40-year-old movie, 40-year-old movies. So
that's a lot. That's crazy that it's been that long.
Yeah.
right.
It's making me feel super old. I mean, not like I was alive when it came out, but still, the fact that it's that old is really weird.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to all these, all the media that we grew up with, like, was fairly new, but now, we're getting to the point where it's like, oh yeah, Mario, that came out 50 years ago.
Right.
Oh, geez. Well, congratulations, Nick. I'm glad.
Yeah, man, that's
maybe
exciting.
in like 3 months, I can throw one of those up there for control.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, I think I'm going to attempt to 100% it too, because I'm plus 80% on everything.
Yeah, it's not hard. Yeah, it's not hard to go back through, and it's kind of fun to go back through and find everything.
Yeah,
I thought, at least.
Especially now that you can just melt through everything with your dual wield attack. It just kind of solves all the problems.
I turn on the one-shot kill.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My main gripe, and it's such a stupid gripe to have with Jedi Fallen Order, but so I'm like really obsessed with like dressing my characters up in games. It's just like a bad habit that I have, and I often find myself like enjoying games the second time I go through them when I'm like on New Game Plus and I have all the outfits and I don't have to like beeline to a specific mission to get an outfit. But the like lightsaber colors don't come until the very the last quarter of the game, maybe majority of the colors.
You have like 3 or 4, but then you have like 8 next.
And then you got like all the good ones. And I've always been obsessed ever since Shadows of the Empire, the book, came out, where it looks like Luke has a yellow lightsaber on the cover. I've always been obsessed with yellow lightsabers, and I think that was one of those final colors I was trying to get to.
Yep.
So it just that was like really my only gripe with the game, which is such a weird gripe to have, but.
No, I totally agree. I was disappointed with like the lack of outfitting options for him, because he basically just has like a mechanic duster look with his poncho.
Right. Yeah. And the designs on the poncho like rarely change. It's just like the color slightly changes on the design. It's like, come on.
There's like 2 different cuts to it, and then 40 different colors.
But I kind of just, in place of that, I just leaned into the lightsaber customization a lot and just made sure to get as many of those possible, because effectively I went with the orange. I had the orange for very early on for whatever reason. I don't know if that was like premium content or whatever, but
I think it was, yeah.
I had orange, and then I went with like the very ornate looking lightsaber where it was kind of like detailed it was like very intrinsic. Because for whatever reason, that character to me, just because I like to get into the lore of Star Wars, and like I do like what they try to do with like Rey, as far as like, is she a Jedi? Like her lightsabers went white or whatever they were, and then like Ahsoka's are white, because technically Jedi have set colors, just like a Sith have set colors. But then the yellow really got me excited, because I love Jedi Guardians, like the Temple Guardians. So I kind of tried to make him look like that as much as I could. So I just went with like the ornate lightsaber, orange or yellow. So I enjoyed doing all that kind of stuff.
Still waiting for Cal to make his appearance, live action in a show or movie.
I tell you what, it would have been so cool if that was him at the end of The Mandalorian instead of Luke. That would have been such an awesome nod. And it's, you got to think that they're going to do it, because the actor is like made to be in Star Wars. You know what I mean? So, but I think they added in like, because the other thing that bothered me, and I don't know why it bothered me, but there was no red lightsaber color until they added it in like I think a New Game Plus thing, but you can only have it on when he has. Is there like a dream or a flashback where he's an Inquisitor or something? I think it's a dream.
There's a couple there. Like toward the last arc, like they're toying with that. Might be
Yeah.
part of the Dathomir stuff. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that suit that he has, that Inquisitor suit, and then it's locked to a red lightsaber. I was like, okay, well, I can deal with that, I guess, when I went back through New Game Plus to pick everything up. So I don't know. I think Jedi Fallen Order sold really well, and I'm kind of hoping that at E3 they're gonna maybe nod to another one coming out. I don't know if it will, because
should be about time.
I think it should be, and I think it's really a no-brainer for them to make a second one. If they don't, I think they're stupid. But there are a lot of Star Wars games allegedly in production right now. So
yeah, I definitely appreciated the story of that too. I thought it was a good story, and of course, running around as a Jedi, slicing things up, and using the Force was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and I like his decision at the end, because obviously, like, throughout there, just thinking canon wise, like how that would fit in, chasing after a data bank or whatever of all the Force sensitive children. Like, the decision just made sense. I'm like, good. Like,
yeah, right.
keep that out of reach.
Yeah.
And then I had, so like per our What's Watching episode last week, I watched the Star Wars Theory Darth Vader comics, where he basically did an acting of them with the pages, all 25 issues. So like that touches on, like, obviously Darth Vader, but like the Inquisitors and a very similar storyline. So that was just like fresh in my mind too. So I'm just like stuck in this like little post Order 66 world, along with like the Bad Batch and everything. There's just so much around with that right now.
Right. Yeah, I really like the Inquisitors. I think those are like some of the best, because they can't. That's from the Disney era, right? Rebels.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's one of the best things that's come out, especially the one in Rebels. I just think he's super cool. I don't know what it is about him, but the idea of the Inquisitors I absolutely loved. So I was always the Sith are always, there's always two of them type of deal. But that to have these like kind of bounty hunter-esque people hunting Jedis down, I thought was so cool.
I would love to see live action Inquisitors. I would love to see a lot of live action stuff from the animated series and this game, for sure.
I think you're probably going to get it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Give them time.
Yeah.
I mean, reportedly, that's what Ahsoka is supposed to be, like a spiritual successor to Rebels.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I think I just read that they finished filming, is it Book of Boba Fett, I think?
Yeah.
Finished the production on Book of Boba Fett. So, I think we touched on the Star Wars episode that was one of my favorite characters, so I'm super amped for that.
It's going to be good.
Yeet.
Well, Mike, you been playing any games?
Well, maybe not plural, but there has been
You've been playing a game.
There's been some playing of game. But yes, the New World Alpha is currently active. I think until July, I believe, and then it moves into closed beta. Apparently, this game will finally release in August this year. But I wait on bated breath, because this is like the fourth launch date that they've had.
Right.
So,
I actually have notes on this. Let me try it, because I watched the Summer Game Fest today and they touched on that game, and I thought they put a. Go ahead and keep talking, and
I was going to say, I think the release date's like August 31st. But yeah, so the alpha has been going for a couple weeks now, Nick. I feel like maybe it's beginning of June.
3 weeks.
It's technically under an NDA, so like probably shouldn't say too many like super specific things, but I will say from the time that we played during the preview last fall-ish, late summer, it's way improved, like very much so improved. It just looks like the UI is cleaner. The inventory management, storage, everything is like cleaner. The combat seems like, I don't know, more polished. The UI really is like the big thing. Like the menus, they're so much easier to navigate. The quests are cooler. Seems to be more. The crafting seems to be a little bit deeper, which is hard to imagine because it's already pretty ridiculously deep. It's still as beautiful as ever. The sound, this game probably has the best sound of a game I've played in a long time, which we kind of talked about with Control, I think, in that episode, how much we appreciated the sound in there. It's very similar. Like, again, if the tree chopping, like if a game has good tree chopping, I'm sold. And the sound of chopping trees in this game is the most realistic tree chopping sound I've ever heard. It's seriously,
it's got
so
the chop
good.
echo.
Yes,
like it has that echo, like when you're in like the woods and it's bouncing off the other trees.
Dude,
it's
I'm
really
telling
weird.
you, I sound probably like a huge idiot, but like if anyone plays this game when it comes out, or like watches videos after, you know, when it comes out, or it's in beta and people are allowed to stream it, the sound is so good and it makes it so immersive. The chopping, the mining, like the pickaxe hitting the stone or whatever, again, it's just that echo and reverb on those sounds. It's so good. I currently play with a two-handed axe, and my second weapon is a musket. And shooting the musket, dude, I'm telling you, the sound and like, I sound like a lunatic, but the sound design in this game is so good. Whoever did it deserves all the money. Like, no doubt.
I mean, it's a really important part of a game, so I don't think you sound like a lunatic per se.
But I just love like some like level 22, maybe. I think the cap's 50 or something like that. So I'm like halfway, you know, through level wise. The thing that's lacking still for me is like meaning in the main storyline, the quest line or whatever. I haven't really been paying too much attention to it. And the importance of picking a faction. And like, I feel like there's so much more they can do with the faction and the PvP tied into it there. I still enjoy the like town projects, Nick. You know, you go to the town board, whatever town you're in, you pick these. These are like the meaningless quests you get in MMOs, right? Like, go kill 5 boars. Well, they tie those quests into these town projects or faction projects, which, as you turn them in, boosts the reputation of your faction in that town to the point where you can control the town. And as you boost your reputation, it levels up all the crafting stations in that town to a higher tier, which unlocks better crafting for you while you control it. And then if you're in a faction that doesn't control the city, you can still do the project missions, and it raises your reputation to a point where you can attack the fort in that area with your faction, and like a huge PvP battle, faction versus faction, and then the winner will then take control, which is cool. It's a cool concept, but other than that, like, the factions still are very meaningless and shallow. And then on top of that, you can join guilds, which it just seems like you already pick a faction and there's 3, which it always drives me nuts when there's not an even number. So it'd be like if World of Warcraft had Horde, Alliance, and then another faction, it'd be like, what? Why is there another faction?
Right.
Like, add another one, so there's 4. I don't know why. I don't know why even numbers in factions. Obviously 2 factions makes sense, but like above that. But then to join a guild on top of being in a faction when there's 3 factions, and I don't know, it just seems like there's a lot there that it seems unnecessary maybe. Aside from that, the crafting is so deep. I love it. It's one of those games where, almost like an Elder Scrolls Online, where you can like pick up everything around you basically, which makes crafting really cool. And it's unlike a World of Warcraft where you are able to, like, all the trade skills and gathering things are open for you. Whereas in like World of Warcraft, you pick 2 professions out of like 8 or 10 or whatever. This one, you can do anything you want. It's just like, if you focus on one, you'll progress farther and be better.
Right.
Because the progression is like very deep. So if you try to branch out and do everything at once, you're not going to really
trying to min max everything basically,
instead of like master of one, right? But the cooking is crazy. Like the small details for these games is what gets me. But the cooking, like you can make like herb roasted potatoes, and you have to like find garlic and dill and like potatoes. And
I got to be honest, that's like straight out of Breath of the Wild,
dude.
I mean, the cooking in Breath of the Wild was so amazing. I mean, it because it always it gives you like different stat boosts depending on what you cook and everything. And you got to find the different ingredients. And there's like a very deep, like you can make like mushroom risotto, and you got to find like all this. It's awesome. And it sounds so stupid if you're sitting here listening and you don't play games. You're like, why do you want to cook in games?
Exactly.
It's just a nice break.
Fun. Yeah. But like, you know, so you'll kill an animal and you'll skin it, and it gives you the hide for like, you know, leather working or making cloth or whatever. But then it also gives you meat from them so you can cook. So there's a whole bunch of different kinds of meat. There are herb plants that you can go, and then it'll like give you random herbs, right? But there are like a lot of farms out in the world where you go to like quest and stuff, because this is an island, and obviously to survive they had farms, right, to make them food. But you could be, you know, going and questing and go to this rundown farm that's like abandoned, and the house is like caved in, but there's like crops in the field that you can go pick, and like, that's squash, I can go pick that. Okay, now I'm going to be able to use that for cooking. There's like all these different kinds of berry bushes, like cranberries, strawberries, blueberries. There's nuts in the forest underneath pine trees. It's like,
that's all out of
it's so deep, and I love it. The fishing is really fun. Again, another really boring, like minuscule thing that people do in MMOs, but the fishing in this game is so fun. I did it literally for like 2 hours straight one night, and it was probably
it's
really
always
dumb,
nice to have those kind of breakup times where you can go do that stuff. Like Breath of the Wild was really good at like, there's like this super snowy area up in the top like right corner of the map, which is like perfect for hunting. And it just be like, I'd spend hours on my Switch hunting to get meat to cook and stuff. It's nice to have that stuff to break it up. You know?
It reminds me of like early World of Warcraft, where I would log on and be like, there's so much to do. Like, what should I do? Like, should this just be like a profession day, or should this be like a questing day? Or like, if I do a profession day, which one should I focus on? Because there's so many things I can do. Like, do I just go mine? Do I go, you know, gather some lumber, or do I like cook all day, or like, do I go fishing so I can have stuff for cook? I don't know. It's one of those, it brought back that whole like, wow, there's a lot of stuff to do. Like, what should I do? And I haven't had that in a game for a while. And on top of that, like, I haven't really gotten to end game yet, but there's like dungeons and like open world events that I'm not a high enough level to take, you know, part of right now. But yeah, I think I enjoyed what I played in the preview, but I'm really enjoying what I'm playing in the alpha. Obviously there's some optimization stuff that needs to happen, because the last probably week and a half, like, there's just ridiculous lag spikes where I'll be in the middle of trying to, like, you know, in combat of something, and then my computer freezes, and then all of a sudden, like 10 seconds later, I'm like way over here and I like half health. And but outside of that, I'm having a lot of fun. I feel like they did a good job of taking the feedback they were given in the preview and implementing some, if not most of it. So I'm excited to see what improvements are made in the closed beta, and then eventually, hopefully, when the game actually launches.
Pending any delays.
Yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm having fun. I'll probably end up buying it. It's one of those $40, like one and done, no subscription.
Is it a Amazon game? Is Amazon? Okay. I thought I remembered.
So I don't know. I'm having a blast. I can't wait until it comes out of alpha, and like I can stream this, so that way all of you, you know, people who listen to the show can listen to the amazing wood chopping sounds. I'll just do it for an entire stream, chopping wood. But yeah, that's one of the games I've been playing.
Nice. I play like 2 hours of the alpha.
Yeah, I keep texting Nick. I'm like, come on, dude, let's go fishing.
I don't know.
He's like, I got yard work, and I'm like, it's 10 p.m. How are you doing yard work? It's
The sun
dark
sets
outside.
at 9:30. No, I don't know. I keep thinking about it and like why I can't play MMOs, and or get into them like I used to, and sink time into them like I used to, and I know Valheim proved that it's not a time issue because I put a lot of hours into Valheim.
Right.
When we played it like for 3 months straight, and
Yes.
finally that was something that was MMO-esque that captured my attention. Right, had very similar themes as far as like you can literally spend hours just chopping trees, and gathering resources. Well, I'm starting to think that my MMO days peaked in Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King of World of Warcraft. And this was because I had very good PvP gear, and 2, I was really good at PvP. And this was my drive, right, to play these games, right? Like, why did I farm all the Netherwing reputation? Because I wanted a really sweet Netherwing Drake, so I could sit on it in the middle of town between my PvP matches. So it was kind of that sort of thing. So I think there needs to be that like,
Nick
I
needs
guess,
to be able to flex on people.
yeah. There needs to be, like, for a non-competitive person in gaming as I am, I need MMO PvP, I think, to drive me to like really play them, because I get into like the PvE stuff, but like it kind of like burns out on me. Like that's not the time I want to spend. Like I just want to go into a battleground and wreck people. So I don't know. And obviously Valheim doesn't have that. If they did, I think I would play a lot of Valheim.
You could turn the
it's not
fire
the same.
on, but
it's not the same.
Yeah, no, New World does have PvP. I haven't tried it though. And they have like open world PvP where you can, flag yourself as PvP. And I did that for a while, and it was okay.
That's the
it's
thing,
definitely fun trying to fight somebody in that style of like ESO combat, right? Dark Souls-esque combat. But it's also very easy to run away. Unlike WoW, it's like super easy to run away. Which I did a very impressive juking of someone who was trying to gank me. I was just like jumping down this cliff and like fake jumped, and he jumped off, and I was just like, sucker. But yeah, dude, I have a great theory on how to, or we've talked about it with Valheim. Like if they just extend the server cap to like 20 instead of 10 or maybe 30, and you could like just populate a server of like 20 people and have like, little villages in your Valheim world, and then you can just like go raid other people's settlements and like all that fun stuff. But yeah, no, I could see that, Nick, being a drive. And then
because World of Warcraft had what League of Legends has, right? And this is what makes, or like Overwatch, right? What makes them pro gaming ready is that they just have that polish, and like they're grounded. They're not like over encumbered by all these systems and mechanics. Like ESO had that. Like there's just too much. To me, it's just like there's like invisible squares in the world that just like prevent you from it being like a very fluid experience. So like WoW was so grounded in its rules. The PvP in that was just so very good. And the same thing with like League of Legends, like it's set in its rules. And newer games, right? We love them because they're open world, they're expansive, they have all these different systems, but that over encumbers, I think, these more rudimentary things like PvP, and it makes it hard.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. But yeah, what were you looking up, Chad?
I think I might have Mandela affected myself in thinking that they announced the beta.
Let's hear it.
The beta date, and I couldn't find it in my notes. So either I didn't write it down because I didn't find it meaningful, even though I knew that I did. I thought I did because I remembered you were waiting for that game, but can't find it. So
I want to say early
Dreamed
July.
it.
Yeah, I think it was early July or like really late June, but I might just be making the entire thing up in my head at this point, so I don't want to speculate too much.
Right on,
It's
right
that
on.
all those space games got you in like a fever.
Yeah.
Just like
Right?
imagining things.
Yes. Have you been playing anything else besides Mass Effect, Chad?
Yeah, so I finished up, or I didn't finish it up. I quit Andromeda because I was burnt out, and I went back to Ghost of Tsushima, which is the open world samurai game from Sucker Punch. It's just such a beautiful game, and it got such a increase from the PS4 to the PS5 without I don't even know if they did a patch. Just like some games are like uncapped in their frame rate and stuff when they release, and then those games now on the PS5 are amazing. God of War is one of them. Ghost of Tsushima is just, I mean, I really am not into photo modes in games. I never have been, but I have probably taken 200 photos in this game. It's
just grabs your eye
every time, man. The sunsets in this game are like magnificent. The way they peek through the trees is amazing. It's just, I don't know. I might be a little swayed in the fact that I had wanted a open world samurai game for the longest time, like literally probably 10 years. I had wanted something along those lines. And especially after The Witcher, I was like, man, it'd be so cool if there was a Witcher but samurai. And Ghost of Tsushima isn't that. It's not as expansive as The Witcher, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because, we touch on it here every now and then. I play The Witcher like every couple of months for a month, and I'm still like 10% of the quests completed because there's like 3 million of them in the game.
Yeah.
But I would like for a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima to have a lot more organic stuff you can find out in the world and side quests and stuff. There's a lot in this one, but it's just I don't know, man. I made the promise that I was like not going to open the map this playthrough and just organically go through and explore and find everything as I come across it. And I've been loving it so far. Nice. If I could just stop taking pictures, I might be able to get through it.
I need to play this game.
You really do. You really do. I'll send you. I have a bunch of the pictures I've taken. I'll send some in the group chat, but it's I don't know, man. I think you'd because you had mentioned before that you wanted a samurai game at some point, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a similar itch, and I can't remember. Oh, I think it was because Three Kingdoms came out, the Total War game.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't quite that, because basically coming off of, I think, Assassin's Creed Origins, and then just a variety of things, that was just like where my mind was going.
Right. It seems like I don't want to say that it's an Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan, but it's got that feeling. It's just much more polished. I'm not the biggest fan of Assassin's Creed games. There's been a couple that I've liked, but I think this is like, that's the best way to explain it to somebody that doesn't really know or hasn't read up on it, is it's Assassin's Creed in feudal Japan. I think the combat's awesome. The exploring is awesome. The world is just, it's really magnificent. I can't wait to see where they go from here for the second one, which I'm sure is a no-brainer for them to do.
Nice. I'll have to pick that up maybe this summer after I work through the other game I just started. Maybe I'll actually finish this one and pick up a new game.
What other games does Sucker Punch put out?
They did the Infamous series.
That's where I know them from. I love those Infamous games.
And then I want to say Sly Cooper. That might not be right. Let me look at. There's an older like kid game that they did.
Did you ever play the Infamous games, Nick?
I did not.
Those are fun.
Yeah, man, they're really good.
Again, not to bring up BioCiv again, but which actually news alert, breaking news. Let's play that little soundbite. Where is it? Did we add it in yet?
Nope.
Yeah, breaking news. BioCiv's work schedule changed, so he
saw that.
He can't stream in the morning anymore. So this morning,
what's he gonna stream?
I don't know, but my work day kind of was boring in the beginning.
Yeah,
I mean, it's boring every day, let's be real, because it's work, but at least I had BioCiv there to take up one of my monitors and provide entertainment for an hour and a half.
Can't believe
But
he
not-
didn't say to his work, like, hey, I have to stream.
Yeah.
Like Mike's
Guys,
waiting
come
for
on.
me.
Exactly.
Mike's
We do
waiting
this.
for me.
So yeah.
all my viewers, my followers, my fans.
He said he's gonna, still be streaming. He just has to find a new time with his new schedule. But it was missed this morning. So
Yeah.
Bio, if you're listening, I felt empty. There was a piece of me missing today. And if you're listening to the audio thing, I just drew a heart on my chest. That was what was
You
missing.
can hear that, yes, very faintly.
Yes.
It was
but anyways,
Sly Cooper, by the way.
Nice.
Sly Cooper was the other series.
I bring up Biosiv because he started playing Sunset Overdrive, and while he was playing that, I was like, "Oh, this seems like a mix of like Tony Hawk, Infamous, and like Left 4 Dead or something."
Yeah.
But yeah, Infamous. Those are good games.
Yeah, I think we might get Sunset Overdrive released on PlayStation. I could be wrong in that, but Insomniac is either PlayStation bought Insomniac or they're exclusive to PlayStation now. So
I did see
that was their
floating around about that.
Yeah, that was their one. I think their only game that wasn't on PlayStation at all, but I think they're mostly focused on Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man now, and I think that's where their focus should be. I never played Sunset Overdrive. It looks cool. I don't know that we need a sequel to it, especially when I'm patiently waiting for Spider-Man 2. But yeah, the Infamous games were really good, and I think that's probably the best launch, easily the best launch game that the PS4 had was Second Son. I don't even know if it actually launched with it. I think it was maybe a couple weeks after, but it really like instantly showed off the power of the PS4, and then they kind of capped the power of the PS4 with Ghost of Tsushima.
Nice.
So
yeah, I really enjoyed the first Infamous a lot. It was really fun.
mhm.
Yeah. What about you, Nick? What's this new game you speak of that you just started?
I also, along with I finally finished Fallen Order. Well, I finally started Uncharted 4.
Hey,
Yes.
nice.
So basically, I'm holding myself
I love how we're
accountable.
like audibly applauding Nick on
Yes.
his two things.
These what planes are holding me accountable for the things that we talk about and say. So
Nice.
these are both things that have been on the list that we have talked about numerous times, both playing, finishing, and starting. So Uncharted 4, back in it, right? Basically, I just did like the intro, and I'm basically at the here we go again part of it. So
yeah, man,
looking forward.
I cannot wait to dive into that game with you because it's I think did it make my top 5 list? I think it did make my top 5 list.
Yeah, I believe
so yeah, I can't wait to dive in, man. I'm super excited that you started that. That might be the most exciting news I've heard on the show.
Do I need? Well, I was trying to remember. I was like, 3 is kind of fuzzy for me. I don't remember if I beat it the second time through, because I got the collection, whatever it was that came out of all 3 of them.
Yeah,
and
Nathan Drake.
I completed like basically up until the final act, like maybe the last like sequence of missions on 3. And I was like, do I need to finish 3? And I was like, forget it. I'm just gonna start playing 4 because I need to start playing 4, and I'm never gonna finish 3.
Yeah, I mean, did you never finish 3 ever?
No, I have.
Or you just didn't replay it. You didn't finish it on a replay.
So it's super fogged in my mind for how long ago it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of like little nods that are going to be here and there back to that game, it's kind of irrelevant for you to finish it. I think you should just go with 4, especially if you've already played through it. And I think the nods that are there, you'll remember anyway. So
cool.
You can't see it, but right up here
in the shadows,
there is a Nathan Drake Funko Pop.
Yeah, I got one on my dresser upstairs too.
Yeah. Good old Nate. Spent a lot of time hanging out with Nate.
Yep.
Over his shoulder.
Yeah. And I spent there's 2, I have like a deep action figure obsession that I kind of pawn off on my children, say like, oh, it's for them, but really deep down it's for me. So I spent
Barbies. What?
There's right. There's there was a Play Arts guy, which is a really expensive figure company, Nathan Drake from Uncharted 3, and it's like the only action figure outside of one they released for 4, and it was like $90, and I was like, I gotta get it, and it's sitting up on my boy's dresser right now.
You're like, you can't play with that.
Yeah, holding the AK over his shoulder, like on the cover, and then behind that is a really cool thing that Doug, my manager at GameStop, got at one of the
shout out Doug.
Yeah, one
Shout
of
out.
that GameStop Expo that they have that's kind of like a small E3. He actually got Nolan North's signature.
Oh,
so and it says to Brady and then his signature, which is my son's name.
Nice.
It's on an Iron Man poster, unfortunately, because it was that was his voice that he was doing for Marvel Avengers. But I was like, I'm fine with it because I'm just gonna hide the Iron Man with the big Uncharted box, and it's perfect. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's Iron Man in the Avengers game, huh?
Yeah, and I got to be honest, man, it's just Nathan Drake to me. Even playing that game, it's like I can't help but hear Nathan Drake in every word. This guy, he didn't change his voice even remotely. So
that's so funny. Oh, that's great. I love Nolan North. He and Troy Baker need to just be in every video game that comes out.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely the top voice actors on my list for sure.
And of course, throw Mark Hamill in there too.
Right,
obviously. Right. But yeah, that's awesome.
So
congratulations, Nick. I'm gonna have to live vicariously through you since I don't have a console.
Yeah, we're gonna have to change that. And I told you, I think I can change that. So I think it now that Nick has finally started it might be time for you to just, Alpha's ending for New World. It's time to just embrace the final Uncharted so we can sit down and break it down.
That's the nice thing about Uncharted, though, and it's, and I got that by turning off like the difficulty on Fallen Order is so it's a laid back experience. It's like watching a movie, but like you just have a controller and you just control some movement. So Mike, to Chad's point, you can play your New World, and then for the last like 30 minutes, an hour of your evening, just cruise through some Uncharted and relax.
Yeah.
Enjoy some Nathan Drake.
Let's make it happen.
True.
Let's go. I'm waiting.
Let's do it.
Here, you can just throw the PlayStation right there.
Yeah. So I actually, on the Uncharted point, I had read an article a couple days ago that said that I don't know the validity behind it. I kind of feel like it's somewhat valid, but so Sony Bend, who made Uncharted Golden Abyss for the Vita, which was, in my opinion, better than the original Uncharted, they came out with Days Gone, which was a zombie game for the PS4. I don't know if you guys remember, and it was kind of, people didn't like it when it launched because it was kind of laggy. I think it's glitchy, and I think it's really, really good now. But I had read an article that they like got forced onto an Uncharted project instead of like a sequel to Days Gone or a new IP, and they had like some sort of revolt where they didn't want to do it, and then they put out a thing that said, thanks for everybody that played Days Gone. We're super excited to announce we're working on a new IP. So it was like perfect time. It was like, oh man, maybe that article was right, and there was like a little bit of turmoil in PlayStation Studios right now as somebody tries to figure out who's going to take over Uncharted. And that kind of scares me because I'd be all on board with Ben taking it over because they did a great job the first time. If it's going to be anybody but Naughty Dog. And now it's
Naughty Dog do it. Is there like what happened?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that 4 was their ending. They wanted to, end it and walk away from it, and
right,
and that's fine. I get it, but I always want more Uncharted in my life. There's no denying it. But it does concern me that seemingly now Ben was at least working on it at some point, and now it's just in limbo, and some random studio might come in and pick it up. I hope Sony has a plan for it.
Spooky.
If they don't, I hope they just drop it and just leave it behind. So
that's one of the ones that's like a very holy series for me. Let's
Yeah,
not,
right.
like, please don't ruin it.
Yeah, I felt that way too when the Vita one came out. I was like, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
It's a handheld Uncharted. What could be worse? And
Yeah.
it was actually really, really, really good. And like I said, I think it's better than the first one. So I had hopes that Bend would take it over if anybody would, and it seemed like they did for a little bit, and then threw a fit about it.
Yeah.
And
I man, had a lot of, I mean, I know there were multiplayer modes in Uncharted 2 and 3, but still, with it being a single player game, I have a lot of memories of playing through that at the same time as my friend Ryan, who is our moderator, chief mod in Discord. Shout out Discord. But yeah, those Uncharted games were magical, and like we talked about before, some of the best story driven games I had played at the time, and probably still. But being able to play that like simultaneously with my best friend, and like we would talk about it all the time, be like, oh man, did you get to this part? That was crazy, I can't believe that. Yeah, just a lot of good memories with those games. Love it. And Naughty Dog will always have a special place in my heart.
definitely.
Right next to where BioCiv streams are.
Right.
Side by side. They're neighbors.
It's deep, man.
It is. I've become a lot pretty reflective lately. Sorry, this gnat's still driving me nuts.
I see
It's moved
you
over
fight.
here.
See you fighting with it over there.
Yeah, he's winning. But yeah, I don't know. Just been through a lot in the last 5 or 6 months. A lot of introspection and a lot of appreciating of things that I enjoy and people I enjoy. So it's been nice. Also, random side note, I've made like a dietary change, lifestyle change that I started in March, and I just went to the doctor, and I've lost like 30 pounds since
Wow.
last time I like weighed myself, which was several months ago. But you can't ever tell on the live stream because I still wear the same like baggy hoodies and stuff. Which, by the way, hey, if anyone wants to see a not the dad life hoodie or not my green Outer Banks hoodie, like if you have merch for your show or business, send it to me and I will wear it on our show.
Just make sure it's like 4 sizes too big.
Yeah, I need like a double XL, even though I'm under 200 pounds for like the first time and as long as I can remember.
That's all. Like even like when I remember back to Fred Martin Dodge, that was always your thing, was the big hoodies. Like even back then, right?
They're comfy.
I mean,
like,
I don't blame you. I'm in a hoodie literally 99% of the time.
So we went to lunch today, Nick and I, which by the way, I don't want anyone to think we didn't invite Chad. We totally did invite Chad. But yeah, we went to lunch, and actually Jordan was there with us too. But I had my Outer Banks hoodie on because I've worn the Outer Banks hoodie probably the last two or three episodes.
So withered.
Yeah. I get out and Nick's like, "Wow, dude, you look like a homeless person." And then I was like, "Thanks." And then we were leaving because Jordan got there after us. And as we were leaving, Jordan's like, "Wow, Mike, you look like a homeless person." I was like, "Geez, guys, go on." But they aren't lying. That's just my style.
Yeah, I mean,
super baggy hoodie and gym shorts.
That's how I am, man. Sweatpants, and I mean, it takes quite the event to get me into a pair of jeans, to be honest. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I only wear jeans once a week, and it's to church. And funnily enough, I was talking with our friend Fran about the different levels of dress. Right? She was talking about how she like just got back from dropping her daughter off or something and like had to change out of her public clothes, and I was like, that's hilarious.
Right.
And I was like, I wish I had public clothes. And then
I don't.
At lunchtime I was proven correct that like I just look like a homeless person. So
you're wearing like oversized basketball shorts, an oversized hoodie, and
flip-flops and socks typically.
Yeah,
at least that's what you had on. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Not today. I had normal shoes today, but 90% of the time, if you see me out in public, it's sandals and socks.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I saw you over at Walmart, that's exactly it. Oversized shorts, big hoodie, flip flops, and socks.
It was probably the exact same thing I was wearing to lunch today, but the sandals and socks instead.
You could have gained 30 pounds and still fit in that hoodie.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and
instead you went the other way.
And either way, like nobody would notice.
True.
But anyways, that was my random aside. Are you wrapped up with Uncharted here? I don't want to.
No, yeah, I mean, I just started it. I mean, that's the big news there is I finally started it, 10 years after the PlayStation 4 launched with it.
Better late than never.
True. Very
Better
true.
late than never. Speaking of late, I've been why is this? Okay, there we go. I tried to change the banner and it changed to Uncharted 4. Yeah. And I was like, I've been playing Uncharted 4 too. The old M. Night Shyamalan twist there. Sorry. My throat is quite dry.
You have water right there, don't you?
Yeah, it's like within arm's reach.
I know.
I can see it. Just drink it. Take a break. Take a breather.
All right. I'm back. Didn't make any difference.
I was gonna say it might have made it worse.
All right. So
take a minute. Oh man.
Yeah, I've been playing Pokemon Leaf Green and Ultra Sun, which are old. Leaf Green's a Game Boy Advance game, I believe, and Ultra Sun is a DS game. But yeah. I've been watching a ton of the Game Theorist videos, which is I think the Film Theorist's original channel was the Game Theorist, and then he started doing the film theory videos. But he has a 39 video playlist of Pokemon theories, and like last Thursday and Friday, I've worked my way like halfway through this list of videos, and sorry. It's just made me want to play Pokemon so bad.
Right.
Like so bad. I love the Pokemon games. And this happens to me probably every other year. I'll get into a fit of like, I really need Pokemon in my life. And I'll go to like GameStop, buy an old Game Boy Color or Advance, and then buy one of the games, play it for like 2 days, and then never play it again.
And then never, right.
Yeah. So this time I got an emulator on my phone.
I was gonna say, I figured you were emulating it. Yeah, it's not a bad way to play them though.
And it's great because like I have, what do I have? Galaxy S9 Plus, so it's like almost the size of a Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
So on the emulator, it kind of, when I'm playing Leaf Green at least, which is a remake of the original, Red and Blue. It's great because it looks and feels like I'm playing on a Game Boy Color, which is awesome. But yeah, having a blast. I started Ultra Sun, which is one of the newer ones again, which takes place on like the Pokemon version of Hawaii.
Yeah. I felt like when Sword and Sword and Shield, the newest ones, they have like a European setting to them. And it's really? just I don't know. It just didn't really sit right with me. I liked Japanese-esque feel.
I liked the Hawaiian vibe, but like I've played it for maybe like 30 to 40 minutes, and I'm still like going through walls of text in like the intro of the game.
Right.
Whereas I turn on Leaf Green, and like after my mom says like 3 dialogues or lines of dialogue to me, you just have to figure out what you have to do next.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm already playing.
Right.
So like, that's kind of why I stopped Ultra Sun and went to Leaf Green. But I will say, like, I appreciated the animations and like graphical style of the newer DS game, and the more like, 3D type look when you're moving around, and like the Rattata in that game are like black.
Yeah.
And it's like really cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, been having a lot of fun. I'm gonna be disappointed because I'm not gonna be able to like trade with anyone, which sucks. But for the time being, I'm definitely enjoying Leaf Green more than Ultra Sun. Ultra Sun, I just beat Brock, yesterday.
Yeah,
toot my own horn, but caught a man key, right, on the entrance to the Elite Four, which I don't know how I remembered that, but deep in the recesses of my brain, I remembered that you can catch a man key over there. And
right.
fighting, moves are super effective against rock type, by the way.
It's weird how stuff like that from your childhood sticks in the back of your brain, right?
Oh yeah. But I did start with Bulbasaur anyway, so I had a backup plan to my Bulbasaur, and let me tell you, I didn't even need to whip out the Bulbasaur. It's my Mankey. He just drop kicked that Onix into oblivion. Anyways, having fun. I got my Pikachu. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Mount Moon is up next. You guys are just lucky I'm not playing it right now while we're talking.
It's definitely I had bought Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu for my boys for the Switch, and for the longest time I've wanted to go back and play it because it's a remake of Pokemon Yellow for the Switch, dude. And like a full on remake of it, and I definitely want to get back to it because that's like that. Red, Blue, and Yellow are like my Pokemon games from my childhood for sure.
Yellow is the one that introduced me to Pokemon, and actually, back on the old reminiscing train. Tonight we took our oldest to Walmart because she saw this like really cool Barbie beach house thing that she wanted. It was $99, and jokingly we were like, well, we'll have to go see how much money you have in your piggy bank. Maybe you could buy it yourself. Yeah. And we did. And she had like $65 because she just never spends money that people give her. And she's 6 years old now. And apparently people have given her $65 over the span of her life. But we're like, oh, dang, $65. All right, whatever. We'll pay for the rest. That's pretty cool. So we went to the store and picked it up. And I was like, oh, dude, I remember my mom did this with me with a Game Boy Color. I got the yellow Game Boy Color that came with Pokemon Yellow, and we like split it in half or whatever. Dude, so many good fond memories of like faking being sick to stay home.
Yeah.
And lay on the couch and play my yellow Game Boy Color with Pokemon Yellow with a little worm light,
Right, yeah.
Oh, dude, that game was so fun. And then it just opened up a wormhole of like, now I have to buy all the trading cards, and then I go to like places and like actually play the trading card game against other people. And
then you had the cartoon was probably on at that time too.
Yeah. But if you're looking for some highly entertaining videos, check out the Game Theorist playlist on Pokemon Theories. Some of them are pretty good.
Yeah, I will definitely.
He went and figured out how old Ash is in the anime. And it's ridiculous, all the work that he put into doing this. But, it's a question that needed answered when we get down to the bottom of it. The show's been going on for like 20 seasons, and he's like just eternally 10 years old.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
He has a lot of adventures.
Yes.
Yeah. And can we just talk about that real quick? Like, what kind of world is this? Like, I am 10 years old, and my mom's just like, get out of the house.
Get out.
Go on your Pokemon journey, you waste of space. Why are you still playing on your SNES up in your room like a loser?
Right. What if it's all a dream?
Yeah.
He fell down, hit his head on a rock in a field, and it's all just a very lucid dream.
Yeah, lucid fever dream, yeah.
Yeah,
that would be
intense. Sounds way more logical than sending a 10-year-old to travel the world alone,
right?
And try to catch all of the wildlife.
The very last Pokemon anything is going to end with that. He's just going to be waking up, and it's going to be his mom being like, "Get home" or whatever. Like it's dinner. Like
Pokemon
breakfast,
don't even exist. Like he just wakes up and he's just like a regular person in our world.
Yeah.
He fell asleep watching Digimon or something.
Oh man, that would be great.
Anyways, Speaking of the Switch, though, I really want to get one for that Arceus game or however you want to pronounce it, but the new Pokemon that's coming out that's like open world.
Yeah, it looks cool. Is it like open world in feudal Japan, I think?
Something like that.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I never even heard of the studio that was making it though, but it looks cool. But I think you should maybe wait for the Switch, because if we get to like my E3 predictions, I think those are gonna be dropping in price here soon. So might be the perfect time.
I feel like somebody literally told me that today. Was it you?
Maybe, might have been. I don't think so though.
No, maybe it's my brother-in-law. Anyways, I think it's the closest game that I'm going to get to my dream Pokemon game, so
right.
I'm hype about it.
Oh yeah, that was your dream, like open world Pokemon game.
Yeah. All we had to do is make it an MMO, an open world.
Right. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah,
but this is probably as close as I'm going to get. So
never
I don't
know.
know. It's tempting, but let's be real. I'll just get it, and then I'll never play it, and instead I'll be grinding out.
Also, or chopping trees. That's what I was gonna say. Chopping trees.
Sitting down here fishing in New World for 3 hours a night. I got some ginger. I need to get some salmon so I can make a nice tasty
bought the
meal.
Game, bought all this stuff, playing the alpha of New World,
right,
for free.
Because by the time that Pokemon game comes out, New World still wouldn't have been released.
Yeah,
it's in its like 4th alpha. Yeah. Hey, sometimes you just gotta be honest with yourself. Which, by the way, I have snuck in like 2 or 3 League of Legends games, but
oh no,
I seriously have not played League of Legends for like 3 months.
I mean, I will say I'm proud of you for that, but you've just kind of replaced them with the same kind of stuff, you know.
Valheim broke the League of Legends addiction, but then I had a crippling Valheim addiction.
Right.
And New World has broke my Valheim addiction, but now my New World addiction is nowhere near as close as Valheim, though.
I was gonna say we should just start up a new seed, and I think I'll play again.
No, we got to finish the canal.
Oh gosh, the canal.
No,
that tower.
Let it die.
So no, I don't want to.
I need new geography,
dude. One of these days, we're gonna have to throw up Valheim on the side of the screen here while we're talking and walk people through the canal, because it's an impressive thing that we did.
It's probably the best thing we could do, actually, to just like document that.
Yeah, it started out a little stream. I don't even think it like made it all the way from one end of the landmass to the other.
It did,
but
barely.
We like dug it out, made it super wide, and then way too many lighting fixtures.
It's a thing. There's like 4 lighthouses, 2 castles.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It was
super fun. I loved it. Yeah,
with a
swimming
board.
pool. Got a diving board.
It's ridiculous.
You got anything else, Chad?
No, I mean, I think I like briefly touched that I reviewed Returnal prior to playing Mass Effect and stuff, which is the new PS5 exclusive from really dropping that Housemarque, which is the Resogun kind of arcade developer, and they kind of increased their capacity to make really cool games and kind of jumped out of the arcade realm and moved into a third-person shooter procedurally generated game that I absolutely loved. I gave it a 90% on Downright Creepy. I think it's the right path for them to be going if they're trying to get out of the arcade realm with still keeping that kind of arcade DNA to them. And it's just a really addicting loop of gameplay. And I wasn't really too sold on the procedurally generated stuff, which is basically when you die, you lose everything and the world changes. So it's like different every single time that you go into it. But they made it kind of part of the story and why it's happening and stuff. and I thought it was super cool. It's frustrating. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I got very frustrated with that game because it's very difficult on top of being procedurally generated. So it's kind of split in half. There's what'd you say?
I feel like Nick would hate it.
Yeah, probably.
Have to turn on one-shot kills.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Yeah, you can't do that. It's just annoying because your entire run through these. So the way it's set up is there's 6 biomes, which are basically different areas on this planet that you crash land on. Each of the biomes is different, and then you have to make it through the first 3, and you get a checkpoint of sorts. So if you die 3/4 of the way through the 3rd one, you go all the way back to the first one. However, if you beat the bosses, there's a boss at the end of each biome. You don't have to replay those. So you're not like constantly replaying boss fights over and over, which I thought was cool. But it just kind of drug the game out. I think I put probably 50 hours into it, and it wasn't because there was, there's a lot of content in it, but a lot of it was me dying and restarting and then doing it. It would always be like you'd get a good run, get to the, almost to the end of the 3rd biome, die, and then you'd have 15 runs where you just can't find any good weapons, you can't find any good upgrades, and it's, I thought the way that they handled it was good though, and it's the first procedurally generated game I've ever played, the first roguelike that I've ever played. So yeah, I mean, I ended up enjoying it in the end, and I think it's a good way for them to go if they're trying to get out of the arcade, side-scrolling shooter realm.
Right. Man, there's something I was going to say until I forget.
Sounds like Valheim. 6 biomes, boss in every biome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's once
joke,
you.
But that was next on my list.
Oh, it was. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's it was the very first game that I ever reviewed, which was kind of intense for me. So I really sunk my teeth into it, and I was like taking notes and stuff. And I ended up giving it 90%. Which is on a 100% scale, which they use on Downright Creepy, and I stand behind that. I think it was an awesome game. I don't know that it's a game that is like Ghost of Tsushima or Sekiro or some of these Uncharted where I'll go back to it ever. I don't know that I'll ever replay it, but it was yeah.
I would be so bad at like making actual reviews for things because I just find reasons why I like stuff.
Right.
Because I don't like to like. I used to be, spend time picking things apart, but now I just want to enjoy things. So I'm always, even if it's something that like I didn't enjoy a ton, I'd just be like, yeah, it's good. I really liked this, instead of being like, but they could do this or this or this better.
Yeah.
It has to be like really bad for me to be like, okay, this was not good. So if I were like writing reviews for like you're doing, like every game would just be like, yeah, 95.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Right.
Like everyone else is like, this game was terrible. What are you talking about?
You're the manifestation of the Steam comment where it's like, oh yeah, bad review, but has 5,000 hours on the game. Clearly doesn't like it. Mike's just like, nope, played 1,000 hours, love it.
It's the greatest. I would be really bad at that.
it was definitely tough because I've never done. I mean, I've always like reviewed games in my head when I played them, but I never was able to put that down on paper and translate it into a written review. And I'm relatively good at writing, I think, and it's kind of natural for me to write, so that made the review a lot easier to do.
Nice.
And just, taking notes throughout of what I liked, what I didn't like, and just putting it all together. It wasn't as hard as I made it in my head when I was going into the initial, starting the game to review. I was like, this is going to be, really hard. I'm going to have to really break down everything. And it really wasn't. It was, the review came together very naturally once I finished the game.
Oh, nice. I feel like I would need to have like write out like criteria of sorts.
Yeah.
To like make me think of like okay, what should I be looking at? If I'm like reviewing this show or movie or game or something,
Right.
to like help, I don't know, make me focus on certain things and then like help prompt me.
I think
Yeah.
I think that's where though reviews can go wrong, and all of a sudden you become like a critic, because I don't believe in going into things looking for things. I'd rather just go into it blank and just see what comes out of it, because otherwise you're looking for things that might not even be there.
Right.
And that's just not fair to the game. But that leans into our natural, like you said, Mike, we just kind of say, this is what we like about it, and we think it's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's bad if I like have anything negative to say about it. You're like, oh wow, that was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I didn't really set any kind of like specific criteria. I went into it just, knowing that I needed to pay attention to gameplay and sound and the typical review stuff, and then just kept notes with it. And it was like I said, it was much easier than I had anticipated it being. And that might just be because I'm, I love games and I love talking about games and I love writing about games. So it's, it's natural.
Right. Well, did we talk about this last episode, Nick, where like, because of the podcast, we just naturally are watching things in a different lens.
Yeah. We're being more thoughtful about the things that
so I feel
watch.
Like, that could bleed into gameplay too now.
Yeah. Just when we talk about it, and then it's like, oh, we talked about that once, and now it's happening, or it's happening again, or something like that.
Yep.
Like for now, like sound is always going to be top mind all the time. Just be like, oh, the sound sucks in this.
Yeah.
How does this tree sound as it's falling over after I've slain it?
About a 4 out of 10.
Yeah. About a 4 out of New World. Yeah. I don't know why I love chopping down trees in video games, but literally it's odd, like crack. Like
resource gather.
Yes. Do you have any other games, Nick? Or I mean, I know you don't play video games anymore, so the fact that you had 2 was impressive.
Hey, come on. I fired up Republic Commando, Star Wars Republic Commando, because it was just sitting in my Steam library, and they recently did the
re-release on it.
The re-release, slight polish, just because it's been officially ported to the newer system, so I was here and get some natural betterness with it. So I'm just playing on PC. It's obviously like the original. But yeah, that's just like a good classic fun game. I think we talked about that on like a previous What's Playing when we're on a Star Wars kick.
Yeah.
And then I have like a game that I'm anticipating that was recently announced, and that could kind of spill into another discussion here with the upcoming event that happens occasionally every year. But I'm looking forward to Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, man.
Because it's going back to the 128 people player Battlefield. And I think of 2142 because that was the first one I played. Right. And that game was, and that was just insane. It was almost like busted, or on the PC, it was busted for sure. Performance wise and a ton of other things. When you had like 64 people in the like small building, like the choke point at the end of a match, like it was so broken, but it was still so fun because it was just pure chaos.
Right. Was that the one where you could like switch, like in single player, you could switch between soldiers, like just zoom to them and pick up the random soldier? Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know that I played it. That was there a multiplayer? I assume there was.
It was multiplayer. Yeah, no, that one was huge on the multiplayer. Maybe you're thinking of a different one. I was thinking you were saying like when you died, you could switch around to different people and like watch what they're doing.
No. This one was I think it was Battlefield, but this one was you would jump from, you could like see a soldier across the field and then you could jump to that soldier and become that soldier and start fighting with that soldier.
Yeah,
I think it was 2042. I could be wrong, but yeah, I played I loved Battlefield 4. That was like my multiplayer shooter. I love sniping in Battlefield 4. It's like one of the best feeling sniping games ever.
2 and 3 for me.
Yeah, and I think 3 was really good too, and 4 had the problem of being somewhat broken when it released, so that's kind of what held it back for me. So I think 3, if I had to pick one, would be my game to go. But it's exciting to see them get back to a modern era of, even though it's somewhat in the future, it's at least somewhat modern versus their World War I and World War II games, which I played and just couldn't get into. And we talked about it before on here, where Battlefield 5 didn't even feel like a World War II game. Like, I was so amped for that game because I think there was like a Battlefield 1942 maybe, or 1940 something.
Yeah.
And that game was so fun, man. There was only like 5 maps or something ridiculous. And it was just like, it might have even been free to play or like super cheap or something. But
I was just worried they were veering into like kind of Call of Duty, like reflection, or just like copying that. Like I want to go back to just like they've always had the really big battlefields, but still, like I just felt like the core was shifting away from that. So now that they're going back this way, I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I think they're bringing back the maps that change throughout the match, where like Battlefield 4 had the big building that you could collapse, and that stuff was so cool, man. And I'm glad they're bringing it back. I hope the sniping feels right in this game, where you've got like the bullet drop and all that stuff, because there's really no better feeling in a shooter for me than sniping someone across the map on Battlefield 4 and
like
you aim
1,000 meters or whatever.
And you're aiming like so far you can barely even see the dude, and you so far up you can barely even see him. So I'm excited. I'm also excited because they announced that there's going to be bots in it, and that's like my old man thing that I love, where I just want to play with bots now. Like the Call of Duties, if I'm going to play them, I'd rather just play multiplayer with bots. So I'm super excited. I wanted that in Battlefield for a very, very long time, and they're doing it. I'm hoping that I can have 120 something other bots in there with me and just decimate them with my sniper. So it's definitely going to be a pickup for me too.
Yeah, sniping. Yeah, definitely. Like 2 was. I played that with some buddies in college, and like we just played the crap out of 2, and we all had our niche. And then like we played a ton of 3, and like 3 was the one like really where honed in on the skills and like being good, like legitimately good at the game. And I do miss that. So I guess I'm just like MMOs. I'm hoping maybe like this might be my re-entry into being like good at a shooter. Which I teased a little bit with like Battlefront 2, the newest one there, but still never really like fully realized my potential there. Just too many sweaties. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't played a shooter in quite some time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like probably the genre I play the least. But I'm always like, ready for the next one. And I've been waiting for Battlefield to get back to a modern era. And then I've also been waiting for them to put bots in. So like, I've been complaining about this for a while, and now they're doing it. So I like feel like I have to buy it. You know what I mean? Like they're at least listening to their people.
They're listening to you.
They're listening to me. I said, bring back the map, the buildings collapsing and the destructible environments in the modern era, and put bots in it. And that's seemingly what they did. So
nice. Check. All of Chad's boxes are checked.
Yep.
But yeah, I haven't really been playing Valheim that much, but I have been playing it slowly. Still gathering resources, waiting for Nick to come on to help me finish this tower in the canal.
Can't pull them off of Uncharted now, man. It's Valheim's over until Uncharted's finished.
He was real life Valheiming in his backyard.
Still am. It's still ongoing.
Yep.
I'm gonna go do that right now.
See you guys
Turn on the lights.
But yeah, so I think that does it for our portion, unless you guys have any others. And then we can move on to listener comments, because we do have a few of those. as we always do, throw up the topic for the week's episode in our Answer the Boys channel in Discord. Shout out Discord. If you are not a member, what are you doing with your life? Please, get with it. Get out from under that rock that you're living under. Join our Discord and become an active member of the Showboys community. But yeah, so threw this out to the Discord and we have some replies. So, of course, an Answer the Boys mainstay, Mel, she says, I've been playing Mass Effect Legendary Edition almost exclusively. Maybe a little bit of Pokemon Snap, the new one, and Breath of the Wild on my Switch, but not so much since Mass Effect came out. It's always been one of my favorite game trilogies, and the updated graphics, particularly in the first game, are absolutely gorgeous. They also updated a lot of the controls and made the vehicle in the first much easier to drive, which is a huge improvement over the original release. So you're not alone, Chad.
I agree with all of that. Yeah, definitely.
And another, heavy hitter in our Answer the Boys, and just in Discord in general, the one and only OGBB8, she says, recently started Super Mario 64 on the N64 in attempt to 100% the game, then realized that there was a newer version for the Switch, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which also included Super Mario Galaxy, which I had never played before. So then I started that, and I freaking love it. I've been going back and forth between the two pretty consistently. Also, Destiny 2, because I sold my soul to it, and it forever sucks me back in. But I've been really enjoying the new content. The developers have followed through on some changes suggested by the community, which gives me hope that they will continue to do so. New customization interface, new game modes that pertain to the seasonal storyline. This season's event, Override, has been pretty fun. Also, that they have found a way to stretch the seasonal storyline out a bit so you can't grind through it all in one day. Seasonal challenges that encourage you to explore other game modes, loadouts, and gift decent rewards. Lots of little improvements. And based on Chad's recommendation, shout out Chad, I started Control, which, hey, I don't want to be that guy. But I mean, there were two other people on that episode in which we talked about Control. Just saying. Anyways, really digging it so far. Love the psychological and lightweight creepy vibe about the game. Game I'm wanting to try soon, Resident Evil Village. As always, super thorough comment there from Bianca. But yeah, on her Control thing, I sent this in our little group text today. So Chad has brought up the SCP during our Control episode, and then he's brought it up on his podcast, That's Strange, before. And before you mentioned it on That's Strange, I had never heard of it. And then when you mentioned it here, I had only heard of it from what you said on That's Strange. But I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Wendigoon, and he has like loads of iceberg videos. And if you aren't familiar with the iceberg videos, go look them up. It's basically a tier list. But he has an iceberg video on the SCP. And so I threw that on. It's like, 50 minutes long. And just hearing the explanation of what the SCP is, and then him going through a bunch of the theories and stories. It's super cool. And I'm just like, okay, Control is 100% just a video game reimagining of the SCP. And that made Control so much cooler in my eyes.
Right.
Because now that's all I can think about.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, I don't know that it's been officially said that was their inspiration behind it, but it's very clear. That you know what I mean? It's very clear.
They would have to provide some pretty strong evidence to convince me otherwise.
Yeah, right.
Because it literally is like, the Federal Bureau of Control is definitely a part of the SCP.
For sure. For sure.
There is no denying that now. So Bianca, if you're listening and you don't know what the SCP is, I highly recommend Wendigoon's video on it. Shout out Wendy. I think
Yeah,
it'll make Control so much cooler for you
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
have some baseline of what the SCP is.
Yeah, and if you watch that like alongside playing through the game there and read some of the things on there, you can it's very deep, the amount of stuff that's on that SCP Foundation. So you can find yourself lost in there for sure.
Just that whole project is very cool for such a cool concept, like the largest writing collaboration like ever, basically.
Yep.
But yeah, so moving on. PM Fusion, he says, I just got done with playing through the entire Devil May Cry franchise. Took some time, but I gotta say that it's now become one of my all-time favorite franchises. Despite the franchise being a bit rocky as far as the games go, as a whole, I think it's pretty solid. And the games that I do like are very fun. The two biggest things that gripped me, I'm pretty sure gripped me, were the stellar gameplay throughout the franchise, minus Devil May Cry 2 because it's a bit of a mess, and the pure absurdity of the game's cutscenes and characters. Not to mention that the difficulty is a solid example of tough but fair, presenting plenty of challenge but giving you all the necessary tools to deal with every challenge. Overall, I'd say if you enjoy action, hack and slash games with enough craziness to, at the very least, give you a chuckle, a game like this is right up your alley. Also, if anyone wants a good starting point in the franchise, I'd say start with Devil May Cry 3. It's the hardest one, but has some of the best mechanics and is technically the first game, canonically speaking. So
yeah, I played the original Devil May Cry way back. I think it came out in like 2001. So I probably played it at launch. And I think right before we decided to play Control for that episode, I was like in a game gap where I had nothing to play and I was trying. And I almost picked up Devil May Cry 5, the newest one. And that probably will be in the cards some place in the future. After I finish Ghost of Tsushima for the third time. I think I might just be as bad with Mike. I just keep instead of playing like Valheim and League of Legends aimlessly, I just replay games aimlessly, like games that I've already beaten multiple times.
Yeah, get off my back, bro. Yeah, you just don't do it all in like chunks of time. You do it like spread out. So you make people think you play a bunch of different games, but you just keep coming back.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing. But yeah, thank you guys so much for chiming in. We always appreciate your replies to the Answer the Boys topic, and it's always fun to read them and then talk about them on the show. So thank you guys so much. As always, we will be picking our favorite comment and awarding you with an oh so important Discord award that you must desire having because they're so amazing and important. Yes. Yeah, you guys have any other things to add before we kind of wrap up here and give a little tease about what next week? We have a couple cool episodes coming down the pipe here.
Yeah, let's at least talk about E3. Let me run through my predictions. We're already at 2 hours, so I'll run through them relatively quick because I have a lot of them.
Sweet.
That way
3 hours later.
Yeah. that way when we come back next week, we can at least see if I should keep doing this or if I should just keep calling out shoddy police work on murder cases where they, got innocent people in jail for no reason.
I mean, he was covered in her blood, but I still don't think that makes him a murderer.
Sorry, I had to.
That was great.
So for anybody not in the know, we talk about that I write on Downright Creepy. I applied for media credentials for E3 this year, which was like a whole process to go through. And I didn't really think that I was going to qualify for it. And I ended up qualifying for it. So I got media credentials for E3. So I got access to, unfortunately this year, it's all digital. It's on an app and a portal, and they've got videos and booths and stuff on there that you can go through. And then when they start doing the press conferences, it will be all on there. But the big thing for me, at least, is it's always been a dream of mine to go to E3. and it's always been a dream of mine to go to E3 as media because I think that's so cool.
Yeah, dude.
And now I've been approved. So seemingly, I mean, I would get approved for a live one too, I would imagine. So hopefully, if all goes well, next year there will be a live one, and I will be there. Hopefully,
yes, and we will have a live Showboys
Booth.
the entire weekend. Chad will not stop streaming and recording from the time he gets there to the time he leaves.
Right.
I just picture a manic Chad just like
running
sweating
back and
and like
forth
yelling
like
into the camera. Like, guys, they just announced.
It's like Blair Witch when it's all like good stuff, but he still has like the snot bubble because he's so excited.
Guys, I almost got trampled, but I have this merch.
But that's so exciting and like so cool. When you posted that in Discord, I was immediately super happy for you.
Man.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, I was super amped. It started kind of like as a joke between Tim and I, who runs Downright Creepy. I was like, hey, you think we can get me mediocre, on the media list for E3? He was like, here, fill this out and we'll see. And I ended up getting it. So I'm super excited. But the good news, at least for Showboys, is that unfortunately with Downright Creepy, I'm kind of locked to horror and sci-fi games for writing on there. Whereas here I'm not on that, what would that be? Restriction, I guess.
Yes.
So most of the E3 news you're going to get from me, at least, is probably going to be on Showboys because there's only so many horror and sci-fi.
Heyo,
games.
You heard it here first. Tune in to Showboys for all of your E3 exclusive content because we are the only platform in existence that will be covering E3. And
Valid, that's true.
Chad, he is going to be the only person covering E3. So
only one.
You have to tune in here.
So I made some predictions here. A lot of them are pretty obvious. A lot of them are crazy, and I'm just going to go through them quickly because we're already at 2 hours here. So I got them broke.
It's no matter for the Showboys.
I got them broke down to the different developers. So the first one I have is Xbox and Bethesda. Xbox obviously bought Bethesda. Their big press conference this year is both of them together, where they're going to show off a bunch of games. I know a lot of people on PlayStation are upset about Bethesda going to Xbox. They can have them as far as I'm concerned. I personally feel their games are largely overrated and broken most of the time when they come out. But for their I know that's like a hard hitting thing to say.
All about the spicy takes here at Showboys.
So for their press conference, obviously I think we're going to see Halo Infinite for anybody that's interested in Halo. I'm hoping that it looks a lot better than it did the first time that it came out because it's just didn't have that
re-releasing games twice tight
shine to them.
Wow.
So Bethesda, I think we're going to get Starfield, which is their space game that they teased, I think, last year at E3. I think we're probably going to get at least a trailer for it, if not a release date. I think it will be an Xbox exclusive. I think everything Bethesda is going to be exclusive to Xbox outside of, I think, Deathloop and Ghostwire, which are 2 games that are coming to PlayStation. But that was prior to the purchase of Bethesda, and there's no way Microsoft's going to let them put their games over on PlayStation, I would imagine. Right. But I'm that one's probably at the top of my list for games I'm watching out for, even though I don't have an Xbox. But it looks super cool. It looks kind of, like it could be Mass Effect-y. They reached out to SpaceX and Elon Musk for takes on future space exploration and stuff. So it should be cool.
Nice.
Next game from them is Indiana Jones, which I think they teased last year too.
Yes.
I'm hoping that we get a trailer for that, and I'm hoping that it's Microsoft's answer to Uncharted, which I feel like it's really should be if it's not. I
always think that's such a funny loop. So Uncharted is obviously just the reimagining of Tomb Raider.
Right.
It's just male Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Which Tomb Raider is just female Indiana Jones.
Right.
And now Indiana Jones is going to try to be like the next Uncharted. And it's just like, what is this weird circle where like it's all been here? Anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely odd. Also, jump in wherever you want to jump in if you want to comment on something, because I'm going to go through
Sure,
this stuff
sure.
relatively quickly. I don't want to cut you guys off.
Will there be an Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, I don't think so. I could be wrong. We might get a little bit of a longer teaser. I think they teased it, at least said it was in production with like a little panning shot last year.
Mhm.
I think
Fallout?
they just no. I don't think we're going to see any Fallout stuff. I think that if the big one would be Elder Scrolls for me, Elder Scrolls 6. If they show something that we don't know about or we don't know a lot about, I think that's probably what it's going to be. I don't think it's going to happen because they've just got so many games in development that
Right.
I mean, I know they're a
Just
big
release
studio,
it
but
unfinished. Duh.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I
Typical
mean, that worked out
Bethesda.
last time, right?
Yeah, works out in every one of their games apparently. Yeah, it's like I liked Elder Scrolls and I like Fallout. It's just they're just Microsoft can have them for all I'm concerned. I think we might get a brief appearance at the new Fable. Put a pin into that one. And then I think we're going to extensively see what Microsoft announced today, which was their new app that's going to be on TVs, preloaded on TVs. It will let you play Xbox games. So I'm sure they're going to dive into that pretty heavy. That's it for Bethesda and Xbox.
I got one for
Go ahead.
for Microsoft. Age of Empires 4. Hoping to see more of that being fleshed out. Don't give me it's thumbs up.
Thumbs up, man. So there you go. Nick's guessing. What's your guess there, Mike?
I don't have one.
You know,
He doesn't play
for the
Microsoft
birds.
games.
Valid.
I mean,
nobody does
PC,
anymore, but
I mean,
it's fine.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, all my Microsoft stuff is lived vicariously through BioSiv.
Yeah, right.
And
There you
I don't
go.
watch his streams anymore.
You're going to
Microsoft's
be
dead.
fine because he's going to record at night now, and then you can just watch it on rerun in the morning.
Right. It's true.
You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I promise.
You'll be okay, Mike.
That hole will be filled.
Okay.
All right. My next one is Square Enix. I think we're going to get a trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. I think we're going to see more add-ons for Marvel Avengers, maybe Spider-Man, probably Black Panther. And I think they released a trailer for Black Panther.
How is that game doing, by the way?
That's a game?
So, yeah. So,
Marvel has games?
yeah.
Yes.
And unfortunately, this is not one of their good games. I think that I liked it. Okay. I played through it. I thought it was super cool. It had kind of a set PC storyline to it, but then it quickly became like Destiny, where you're replaying missions and it's like a looter. I can't say looter shooter, looter Marvel Avengers game. And that's just not what I would have done with Avengers. You would think they would make a heavy story driven single player game with Avengers. And that, although at the beginning of it seems like that's what was going to happen, it didn't really pan out that way. Gameplay wise, it's awesome. Graphics wise, it's awesome. It's just not what I wanted from Avengers. Gave me 20 hours of joy, and then I was bored with it. I think we're going to get maybe a hint at a new Kingdom Hearts game from Square Enix. I definitely think we're going to see more Life is Strange, which is one of their other games, on top of the several Dragon Quest titles that are in development right now. And I think we're going to at least get a teaser for Final Fantasy 16. That one might be stretching a bit. Next one is Ubisoft. I'm not really expecting too much from Ubisoft this year. I think we're going to see a lot of Far Cry 6, which is their newest game that's coming out. Looks like Far Cry. I think you'll probably get maybe some DLC for Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legions. They have a free-to-play The Division Heartland game that I don't think you're going to see there, but could be. And then this one's really stretching. And I would like to get some sort of tease of the Star Wars game that they're working on. So
nice.
The Division developers, Massive, are working on an open world Star Wars game, allegedly. Sucks that it's at Ubisoft because it's, all their open world games feel kind of samey. But and then Beyond Good and Evil 2 makes its long way to return. They teased that game years ago, and then it just went dark for whatever reason.
Nice. Random thing about Ubisoft. That trailer I was talking about that I sent to Cody about Werewolves Within. Ubisoft is a part of that somehow. Their logo flashed at the beginning of the trailer, and I was like,
yeah,
I've never seen that before.
And that's a movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's odd.
It was weird.
But I know that they're dabbling in movies because I know that The Division is getting a Netflix movie. And
nice.
They during the Game Fest thing today, they showed like a Netflix teaser of all the game stuff they're working on, Castlevania, Resident Evil, all that stuff, and Splinter Cell was in there, which I thought was really exciting. I don't ever remember hearing anything about that. Yeah. But it was, there wasn't any shots of it or anything. It was just the name, but that was pretty cool.
I'm excited for the Resident Evil movie and the series.
Yeah, me too.
Series? Aren't there like 2 series coming?
I think there might be 2 coming out. Yeah. I got excited for the live action because they showed like the RPD. Did you see this like set photo of the RPD? I was like, oh man, it looks just like it. Like maybe they're actually going to follow the games for once.
Hopefully this doesn't suck.
Yeah, right. Right. So odd. Okay, my next one is Nintendo. I think we are finally going to get a deeper look at Breath of the Wild 2. I think it's a no-brainer for it to be here. If it's not there, there's obviously something majorly wrong with this game. I think you're also going to get maybe like a short teaser of Breath of the Wild 2 and then some more remasters of the older games, which they seem to be leaning into. I think we're going to get Metroid Prime 4 first-time gameplay or trailer showing off. It was announced back at E3 in 2017, 18 maybe. Dang. And then kind of went dark there from there. And then I also think, and I kind of hinted at this earlier, I think 100% we're going to see the new Nintendo Switch Pro. And I think that Breath of the Wild and Metroid 4 are going to be launch titles for it. I think they're both going to be on the older Switch too, but I think those are 2, like if they come out with those 2 launch titles, people are going to go crazy. Unfortunately, Sony, as they often do here lately, is not at E3 this year. They'll probably do something maybe July, I would imagine, but we'll kind of touch on that later. We're going to leave that out. My hope, and this is my like deep hatred for Microsoft, I hope that Nintendo like beats them this E3, and that would like complete my life because Nintendo can't seem to beat anybody, even though they have awesome games.
Just gotta drop that Arceus, make some massive Pokemon announcement or something, and then you win.
I think you're definitely gonna get some sort of trailer for that, if not gameplay for that too. And then the last couple I have here are just kind of miscellaneous and kind of hopeful stuff for me. I want to see, even though I don't see them anywhere on the press list at all, I want to see Grand Theft Auto 6 in some capacity. I think it's like well overdue. It's been 7 years since Grand Theft Auto 5 came out.
That's so crazy.
And and don't get me wrong, like a lot of people are mad that they just keep re-releasing Grand Theft Auto 5. I'll buy it every time and I'll probably beat it every time. Okay. So it's, I can't fault them for doing that because I'm buying it and so are a bunch of other people. So if you want to put a stand against it, stop buying Grand Theft Auto 5 on every platform that you have. But I think it's long overdue for at least a teaser of some sort, or at least announcing that it's in development, something like that. I hope that we see they're again porting Grand Theft Auto 5 onto the PS5, the new gen consoles, Series X and S. I hope that they take the multiplayer stuff from Grand Theft Auto Online and put it into single player, like all the cars and the guns and all that stuff. That would make it worth buying it for a 4th time for me. Either way, I'm going to probably buy that game regardless. That's my hope, because that stuff, a lot of that stuff is really, really cool, and it's locked online, which I don't play a whole lot of. Now, this one, this was like my big, this one's going to be at E3, and it was actually, they showed a trailer of it today, and it's Elden Ring, which is the Dark Souls and Sekiro developer from Software. and it's a Dark Souls-esque game with George R.R. Martin on the project, who's the writer for Game of Thrones. So he's doing writing and world building for the game. It's
never gonna get done.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
That's yeah. I mean, a lot of people were saying that, and a lot of people were saying that it wasn't even going to be at E3. And I was like, I think that it has to be at E3. And if it's not, again, like I said with Breath of the Wild, there's obviously something major wrong with the game if it's taking this long.
So
But
Game of Thrones will never be done because if he's working other things,
right, yeah,
good lord,
yeah, it's never going to get done. But you know, I have a deep new passion for Dark Souls in the Sekiro game, so I'm super excited for this game. I love Game of Thrones. I love, you know, everything that he's written, so it looks really cool. They showed off a really extensive trailer that showed a lot more than anything before, and they put a release date of it on it, which was shocking, of January 22nd, so it's not that far away. And then my final thing is for Sega. I think Sega is going to announce more Yakuza games coming for a Western release. I think they're going to release the 2 Feudal Japan spin-offs following the success of Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima. I think it's been teased that they're going to release those games. I hope they do because I really want to play them, and they're region locked into Japan right now, so you can't even get a translated version of them. So I'm hoping that's my ace in a hole personally. So those are my predictions for E3, and we'll come back next week and talk about everything and see if I was wrong or right.
That's right. So I think those are all fair and exciting.
Yeah.
You know what would be cool? What if you posted those in the What's Playing channel or whatever, so we can have so everyone can judge your
written record.
Yeah, I'll do that.
But yeah, so like you said, next week we're going to have a special What's Playing episode. So we're going to have back-to-back What's Playings for you guys. And we're going to exclusively cover E3. Well, Chad's going to cover E3, and Nick and I are going to react and say probably dumb stuff that doesn't make sense.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah. But yeah, so E3 is the 12th through the 15th, and then next Thursday is the 17th. So you're going to get, fresh off the press, 2 days after the event ends. So that should be really fun. I'm really excited about that. Do you think, because like Sony does their own thing, right? So do you think, Nintendo also does their own thing. But then they also
they all relatively do their own thing at some point throughout the year.
Yeah.
But it used to always be Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo were always at E3 competing with each other. And then I don't know if PlayStation just was like, we want to announce our stuff when we want to announce it, and we want to do our own, press conference away from E3. And to kind of not fall into the shadow of E3 and everything else that's being announced. So I like the Sony plan. I know a lot of people hate that they haven't been at the past couple E3s.
Right.
But I like it. I think that it gives them, time to get out of that shadow of Microsoft announcing whatever they're announcing and all that. I did love, when they announced the PS4 and the Xbox One, it Microsoft just got slaughtered at E3. I mean, it was the PS4 was $100 cheaper, had way cooler games, and Microsoft showed one game and then all TV apps, and it was
so bad.
It's one of the best E3s I've ever watched, and I do miss that, and that's why I'm secretly hoping Nintendo does that to Microsoft this year when they're showing off their TV app.
Yeah. I think Nintendo is just now going to add Wi-Fi to their system, so I don't know. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
might actually be able to.
Yeah, Nintendo's joke, by the way. Nintendo's really weird because they're I almost don't see them as a video game company. They're just a toy company that makes toys for the people that like their toys. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't ever really feel the need to be above and beyond or at the front line of gaming or anything. They're just they got Mario, they got Zelda, they got Smash Brothers, and they're just gonna
weird. They'll make the Wii, which revolutionized things with the motion control, right? Yeah. But you couldn't get online,
right.
You couldn't watch Netflix or connect to the internet.
Yeah, they're
And
definitely
it's a
weird.
toy.
I mean,
It's
Purely
like
a toy.
you're
Yeah.
like generations ahead, but then also like generations behind
Right.
on the same console. It's so weird.
yeah, I think for me, the weird decision started at the 64 with like that really obscure, odd controller, and then they just never stopped making weird decisions. You know what I mean? And they kind of got their footing under them with the Wii, but I think they got their footing under them because, my grandma bought a Wii. Like everybody was buying Wiis.
Yep.
That's why they got their footing under them. Now I think that with the Switch, they're on the right path. This is what I want from Nintendo. This is what they should be. So I got high hopes for the Pro.
And just wait. Sony's going to announce that they're putting Discord and everything, and then we're going to be able to video call through Discord and do everything through Discord, and you can have Showboys on your PlayStation.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Where else would you want us?
That makes me really happy because I think the original story was that they were going to partner with Microsoft Discord.
I know, and
correct.
that made me so sad.
And then they said we're not going to partner with Microsoft. Then like a week later, they're like,
Sony swooped in.
Like,
money.
that makes me so happy.
That's pretty awesome. But yeah, so make sure you guys tune in for that. That'll be really fun. And then the following week, the 24th, we have such a fun episode planned. I don't want to give away any spoilies yet, but yeah, I am so stoked. I had a moment.
Mike's so excited.
You have no idea. Well, I'll just explain it. So you know how you're talking about your E3 moment, Chad, of like applying and then not thinking you would hear anything back. Well, so for Showboys, we're a small podcast. We're still growing. Largely our guests are friends, people we know, right? But also have valuable input in the topics that we're talking about. We've branched out and had people we didn't know personally, but like other podcasters or people in the realm of what we're doing on the show, like the Scene Snobs guys. Like now they are friends of mine, but I didn't know them personally before they came on the show and whatnot. Our friends at B Hero didn't know them until we collaborated on things. And I've always been kind of afraid to reach out to, I don't know, say like a director or an actor, obviously, because why on earth would anyone that has any clout in their realm want to come on our show? Because we're nobody, right? So I'll just be like watching YouTube and be like, oh, I really like this creator. I'm going to shoot them an email from our podcast email and see if they want to come on. I've done it a handful of times. Obviously, never hear anything back because, of course, why would you? But I did this last week watching I forget what video I was watching, but I was watching a Wendigoon video. And I was like, I would really like to talk to this guy. So let's send him an email. So I sent him an email, and like 30 minutes later, I get a reply. He's like, yeah, that sounds really cool. When do you want to do this? And I was like, what? Like somebody replied and they said yes? Like, what's going on here? So yeah. So on the 24th, Wendigoon will be coming on the show and chatting with us. And I'm super stoked about it. And, following an E3 episode, we got a couple weeks here of really fun episodes. That is, if my child does not come and, my wife does not give birth to our third child before then.
Right.
So we'll see. Those are the tentative plans, but they're exciting nonetheless. Even if my child does come, that's exciting too.
Also valid.
And just throwing this out there, the 24th is also my birthday. So if you want to do me a solid, even now as an early birthday present, if you're watching the live stream or watching this on YouTube later after the fact, consider subscribing. Whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, if you like what you heard, please like, rate, review. thank you for tuning in tonight. And I will be putting a P.O. box address in our Discord for anyone who wants to mail me any birthday gifts. You have 2 weeks. You've been informed now.
Any quadruple X hoodies that he can wear, maybe.
Exactly. I'm always looking for new podcasting uniforms. So if you want to send me a hoodie with your likeness on it, just put like your face here. I don't care. I'll wear it. I also accept cash, check, even money order. I don't care. Anyways, this is a terrible bit, and I'm sorry. I apologize it's gone on this long. But yes, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you to those who stopped in the live stream. Thank you to those who answer the boy topic in Discord. Yeah. Until next week, have a good one. Bye.
Adios. Have a good night.